content over everything.
Remember, you had Ouagadougou,
Ouagadougou,
Ghana,
yes.
then Mali.
And why did Ouagadougou
Then
desire to
Songhai.
become?
Then Songhai.
Why did Islam take in such a traditional empire? You know why? Because we talked about
There's
this
various
before.
different reasons why.
No, but what the
There's various
main
different
reason?
reasons why.
Commerce.
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 But we're gonna come back to right.
Right.
We're gonna come back to commerce. We're gonna come back to commerce.
Commerce.
You're gonna come back to commerce, yeah. Because the reality is that in Ouagadougou as an empire, you had various different groups of people, many of whom were multilingual, and they had a quote unquote lingua franca, common language that they could communicate with.
Good.
Prior to the coming of Islam and the Arabic script,
Yeah.
there were rudimentary scripts developing among the Mande people.
Yes.
Right. So the idea that the Africans needed the Arabic script to be able to develop a literary tradition is ahistorical.
No, it's not.
It just means
it's very historical.
No.
As a matter of fact,
No. Hear what I'm saying.
the
Let me
Akan
clarify.
script. Go on. I know about the Mende script.
No,
I know about all of them.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
let me clarify my point. With all due respect, I'm not saying that the Arabic script did not perform a literary function in those societies. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
like
saying
an
that
international currency.
like
a hard currency.
But why was it an international currency? We're going to come back to that question, yeah? But the point is that if we're talking about Africans developing literacy, the idea that we would not have done so had it not been for the coming of the Arabic script, yeah, is what I'm saying is ahistorical. All that
I
meant,
would like
I
you
would
now
argue,
to date for me the Akan script. Date the Akan script.
but the Akan script is after this point.
Exactly.
Right.
Now date
But
the Manding script.
The Mande script.
Yep.
And
you're going to be quoting Clyde Ahmad Winters.
I'm forgetting
He's the only person who has done any real research
I am
on
forgetting
this.
the date, Uncle. I am forgetting the date, but I do know it's pre the Islamic invasion into Africa.
That is highly
into
controversial.
Asia, right?
That's
So
very.
and
the
for some,
Manding script, that's controversial.
yes, because the rudiments of it, yes,
It's controversial.
Yeah, it may well be, Uncle. But I'm saying that scripts like languages have an evolutionary history.
Talking about the Manding script, for example.
Yes.
Clyde Ahmad Winters is
Yes.
one of the few people who researched it. Now, what he looks at is the Manding script in the Americas.
Yeah.
That's what he looks at. What he says is evidence for the Mandinka having sailed across to the Americas is that there is evidence of Manding script in the Americas. Now, the Manding script that he shows you is almost akin to the Viking runes. Viking runes were a script, but very underdeveloped.
But I'm not arguing
It's
that.
very underdeveloped.
But I'm not
It
arguing
was
that it was developed.
The Viking runes could not perform the function of the Roman script.
Uncle, I would agree with you that the scripts that we would have had would have been underdeveloped. That's not the argument.
Why
I'm making.
were they underdeveloped?
That's not the argument. All right, Chancellor Williams, yeah, has an answer to that question. Yeah, when societies are undergoing various different kinds of hardship and changes due to migrations, due to climate, and these kinds of things, there are certain sciences that fall to the wayside in terms of their development. So it doesn't. The only point I'm making is that the idea that had it not been for the Arabic script,
I asked
West
you an
Africa
unfair. It
wouldn't
was
have
an
had-
unfair question
right?
I asked you.
No, it's
was a
totally
fair
fair.
question.
It's totally fair.
No,
It's
I'm
totally
being
fair.
mischievous.
It's totally
I
fair.
am being mischievous.
You're allowed to be. You're allowed to be. You're allowed to be.
You're not allowed to do this.
You're allowed to be.
What actually the fact is, what I'm looking at is, as kingdoms become empires,
Yes.
they need more communication,
Yes.
and scripts will develop.
Yes.
Because you need now, you're not communicating alone with London, you're
I'm
communicating
going
with
to.
Birmingham.
I'm going to agree with
and
you.
Manchester.
But Uncle, just in the same way that the coming, the Roman script among African people facilitated the ascendancy of European colonialism in Africa, it's a similar way that the Arabic script facilitated the colonialism of Arabs in Africa.
It's a false parallel.
It's not a
It's a
how can it be a false parallel?
I'll
That
tell
is
you
why.
why.
And this is.
It's a false parallel.
Please allow me to explain why before you say it, right? I'll give you two examples.
Are you blocking the camera?
Oh, sorry. I'll give you two examples very quickly. We deal with Mansa Musa. We can go before him,
Right.
to Ibn Yassin,
Right.
and the founding of
That's
the
Mauritania.
and the founding of the Tekrur.
That's Al
right?
Murabitu.
But
Ibn Yassin
when it-
wasn't Tekrur.
No,
Ibn Yassin wasn't
no,
Tekrur.
but he went to Tekrur, and
He was in Mauritania. Tekrur
Yes.
is south of him.
Yes, I know. But what I'm saying is, correct me if I'm wrong. The story of Ibn Yassin, he's not indigenous. Yeah, he comes from Arabia, right?
No,
Where's he from?
Ibn Yassin was he not a Lemtuna Berber? He was went
No.
for Hajj.
No.
He went
Uncle.
for Hajj.
This is what I understand.
No,
right? I
he
understand
went.
it.
He's a
Because
Lemtuna Berber.
my understanding of the story is that he comes from Arabia. He tries to convert the Berbers. The Berbers are not reject it, and he flees.
He went.
goes to the
He's a
Tekkur people.
local who went to Hajj and he came back like
I'll
a
double
Salafi.
check it.
He came back like a Salafi.
I'll double check it.
Yeah.
I'll double check it.
Yeah,
right?
he
I'll double
came back
check
a Salafi,
I'll double check it.
basically, yeah.
I'll double check it. Come back to my first example. Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa goes to Hajj.
Right.
Yes, he takes the gold. What does he come back with?
Waste all the money.
What does he come back with?
He came back with a couple architects and things who helped build mosques and so on. He brought back an architect called Ishaq Sahili, the guy who built the mosque of Timbuktu.
They were building mosques before he went. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
but this guy he introduced a Moorish style to the pillar, to the minarets.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the block minaret style.
Did he not also bring scholars back with him? And imams back with him?
I wouldn't doubt it, but I have to check that too.
Right? Askia Muhammad goes to Hajj.
Yeah.
Yeah? Where does he stop before he gets to Mecca?
Egypt.
Right. Who's in Egypt?
Mamluks. Mamluks.
And they're the recognized caliph, yeah, at the time, correct?
No. There is
Who's the
no
recognized caliph at the time?
no caliph at that time. There is no Islamic empire.
So are you saying that?
Egypt was independent of Baghdad? Baghdad was independent of small Spain. There was no empire. There was no central. I think you're trying to aim at us. You're looking for a centralized.
I'm dealing with history.
No, hold on. You're looking for a centralized authority like Queen Elizabeth in England or King Louis of France, like a French empire. That did not exist. That's why I think you're making a false parallel.
Let's say that's the case. Let's say that's the case.
Yeah.
Does Askia Muhammad,
Yeah.
when he goes to Egypt, seek permission to represent, the caliphate in West Africa or in Africa, and get that permission? And does he not also bring back scholars and imams from Arabia?
Assuming he did, then
Right. The point I'm making is that there is a trajectory, in terms and as well. So in all of this context, what's happening is people are seeking for purer religion and increased Islamization.
Good.
And that is happening at the expense of, because in order to do that, you have to do so at the expense of the indigenous spiritual and cultural systems.
Yes.
And they did so. So when you talk about trade, one of the reasons why Arabic became such a strong language is because it became the language of trade, because of the power that the Arabs in North Africa had already established based upon their invasion of North Africa.
Yes.
And so that power was the residual effect of that power was felt in West Africa because the people
what do you mean by the residual power?
Basically, if the trade in West Africa is done with North Africa and with East Africa. And both of these, on both of these spectrums, you've got people who are Muslims and seeking to spread Islam, to spread their religion.
But I thought you were at the part of the timeline when Islam was still in North Africa. But how could there have been Muslims in West Africa if we're still at the timeline where the Arabs are invading North Africa? That's where we are at the timeline.
Because the Islam in West Africa comes about through a combination of the trade relationships, because again, the gold trade, the salt trade was being done with North Africa, and North Africa at a point becomes dominant Muslim. And so those people...
And what were the people of North... Just for the audience, what were the people of North Africa when the Arabs came?
There were various different things. So you've got...
What was the predominant language and language of learning, and what was the predominant religion?
Before Arabic?
Before the Arabs arrived.
So it depends on what period you're talking about. You've got the Tamashek language.
No, we're talking on the eve of the Arab invasion.
But this is why it's a difficult one to answer, because I'm saying that because...
Well, we know the language is Roman.
That's what I was going to say. But if you talk about dominant language, the Arabic invasion ended Roman domination.
Yes.
Right?
So what we do... So no. What I want the people to understand is the notion that the Arabs invaded Africa
No.
in that sense must be understood. They invaded white Africa.
I'm not arguing that.
They
at the moment.
they invaded white Africa,
Cool.
and they supplanted the Latin language, which was an international language of commerce, with Arabic. That's what happened. Arabic filled the
Are you
vacuum
saying that
supplanted by Latin.
Are you saying that the Tamashek language was not in operation?
It was not an international language of trade.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was international.
The Tamashek language.
Arabic becomes the international language of trade based upon its
conquest.
occupation. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
No, the point I am making is I am not leaving the audience in any doubt that North Africa was not Negroid. It was not black.
I'm not arguing
that. By the time,
at that time
the
it wasn't.
Arabs arrived.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that.
In fact, to all
there
of
were black
this,
people there.
it was like the south. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There was this. It was like the southern shore of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Basically, in terms of the Roman Empire being called the
centuries
Mediterranean.
centuries of
lake,
invasion. Right.
So what I'm trying to let people understand, because there's a lot of hoteps who think that Africa was pitch black right after Carthage and Morocco when the Arabs arrived, and the Arabs are pale white. People have this foolish notion, and that needs to be exploded.
I'm not arguing that. The only point
I'm
making.
Many of the Arabs are as dark as you.
Yeah. The only point I'm making.
And you.
is that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. The only point I'm making is that the power of Arabic as a trade language is fundamentally based upon the North Africa becoming Arabic via conquest. And
I agree.
And the fact that those people, because the trade routes in gold and swords were done with North Africa, it became prestigious. Yeah, an elitist class was developed around becoming Muslim because it facilitated that trade experience. Yes. Then you have invasion. Then you have
you put the argument back to front. The elites became Muslim. The elites became Muslim.
No, I'm not going to deny that, but I'm saying, to a degree, I'm not going to. I wouldn't deny that.
It became a religion of the aristocracy in Mali.
Yes,
and
in Songhai, yes. But I'm saying under Ghana, it wouldn't have been up until a certain point.
Those early days.
That's the point I'm trying to make. But how Ghana? But remember, when they came initially, that the Ouagadougou created space. Yeah, gave over half the city, the capital city. Yeah. To build mosques and these kinds of things, right? And then it was one of the city states within under Ouagadougou, which was Mali, that became predominantly Muslim,
right?
And basically became, based upon that fact, they had a special relationship with the traders in the north. Yeah. So the relative power of Mali began to increase in part based upon. Now there were other factors. There was descent within the Ouagadougou Empire over various different things. Just like there was, right? But the point I'm making is that when we're dealing with this, Uncle, and from an African centered perspective now, because it is said that African centered folk believe that Islam was just spread via the sword, and that would be inaccurate from the Afrocentric perspective, in the sense of the fact that that's not the full story.
It requires some nuance.
It requires some nuance. So when
in North Africa, yes, it was. In the north,
right. But I'm saying that when my Muslim brothers and sisters say that it wasn't spread through the sword, it was spread via the trade. They're also being fallacious. That claim requires nuance.
Yes.
And that's because
agree.
Because trade, as we know, can be fair or it can be exploitative. And I'm saying that when we look at the cultural impact of all of these things, what began to happen is prestige. Even though we can make the claim and we can say in all truth that the brothers and sisters who converted to Islam during that time, were by, if we were to compare it to other more fundamentalist standards, were relatively accommodating. We could make that claim, right? We can make that claim that there were some who were less accommodating, right? But what we can say is that the adherence towards this religion led to, and what is described by one of the leading Afrocentric definers, Mambo Amamazama. She speaks about the hyper-valorization of European culture and the systematic denigration of African culture. And so in that context, you also have the hyper-valorization of Arabic culture and Islam in that
A
context.
false parallel.
But
Camera,
you-
a false parallel.
explain why.
Shall I explain why?
Explain why. So are you suggesting to me that African culture and spirituality was not systematically denigrated?
Yeah?
Are you saying that African spirituality and culture was not systematically denigrated in the context of Islam developing and spreading?
I'll tell you what I am saying.
Yes.
What I am saying is when Europeans arrived,
Yes.
it constituted a culture shock. Europeans not only arrived with
England first.
Europeans arrived with guns. They arrived with cannon. They arrived with ships capable of carrying large numbers of people away from their homeland in one fell swoop. Now,
Not immediately, Uncle.
when you look, no, the first Europeans were the Portuguese.
Yes, and they came to
The
trade.
Portuguese have and we talked about this before, the Portuguese represent a kind of bridge between the Iberians, the Portuguese and the Spanish in their mentality, represent a kind of bridge between the Arabs, what the Arabs did, and what the French and the Dutch did. It's a kind of bridge between. So let's not discuss the Iberians, they're a little bit Moorish. Don't discuss them right now. Let's look at what happened with these things. When the Muslims arrived with the same weaponry, the same horses, the same armaments as the Africans had. When they arrived, they decided, and first of all, the people who arrived first, the traders, were the Tuareg. Now, people talk about this being an unfair exchange. I heard you mention that. Now, people think salt for gold was an unfair exchange. Now, salt,
No, I wouldn't disagree with that.
salt at that time,
Yeah, it's certainly important.
if you are given a whole plate of gold, let me see you try to eat it. Salt, without salt in your diet, salt, in fact, was worth more than gold. Fact.
As a
Go and
as
research it.
No, but Uncle, I'm
Go
not
and
disagreeing.
research
I
it.
would agree with that. I'm
This
affirming that.
feeling that, Africans were giving away all this gold.
But that's not what I said, though. I wasn't.
Well,
making
what
that
is the unfair trade you were
No,
talking about?
I'm saying that all I was saying is that.
I thought you were mentioning- okay.
No, we can't make the claim that just because Islam spread
Trade.
by a trade,
Yeah.
that necessarily means that the trade was
fair.
not. Was fair. Just what I'm saying. So there's nuance within that, right? So the point I'm making is that within the trade
You
relationship,
know the Africans themselves, half of them didn't know. Mansa Musa didn't actually know where the gold was. It was down in
Yeah,
Volta
it's-
region.
yeah,
They had to
so,
go and get that gold.
Yeah.
So he had to have a middleman system to get it.
get it, yeah.
No Arab couldn't say like, we can force you all
No, that's not the
to
point I'm
produce
making.
gold.
That's
So
not
what's
the
this
point I'm
on?
making.
I want to get to the unfair trade then.
No, what I'm saying is, all I was saying is that trade can be fair.
Oh, no,
it
but
can-
in this
or
extent,
it can be
but
exploitative.
why do you mention it now?
Right, I'm
Wh-
saying
where
that,
was it unfair?
I'm saying that
Yeah.
in terms of trade, for example, Sunni Ali Burr, yeah,
Burr.
what's it called?
Burr means great.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why people say that he was kind of nominally Muslim,
Right.
is because he understood his political, social, and economic situation at the time, so that they consider his Islam to be more a reflection of political expediency rather than real religious devotion. In the sense of the fact that he knew that being Muslim gave him standing within the economic situation that he was in. So I'm saying that within that context, being Muslim created an economic standing that you would not have otherwise had.
Yes.
Unless you converted to the religion.
And literacy.
Right.
So
What's
now
it
you
called?
can read all lovely books and things, and you can write down your history.
but
you don't have to rely on
but-
some
but-
griot making up stuff as he goes along. You know what I'm saying?
But when you say that,
a lovely big robes,
but when you say that,
agbada,
but
some
when you say that,
agbada,
yeah.
some
But
babariga,
when you
some
say that-
grand bubu, some
But Uncle,
bogola. You haven't got.
When you say that though, you also have to concede, that the key griots at the time
Yes.
were those that were facilitating this whole process.
Griots to be on a double-edged
Right?
sword.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Not the best of times. Griots are gaulo. You say gaulo in Pular, gaulo for griot.
Or Jali.
Yeah, no, Jali is Mandinka.
Yeah, I know.
Jali gaulo in Pular in his language.
Yeah?
Yeah, to me they're a double. Once a man is employed by a king, he say what the king want to hear.
But the
You
kings,
see? So if the king was a pagan,
But you- but
if
you're
the king
making-
if the king was a traditional worshipper,
Yeah.
or the king was a Muslim,
Yeah.
the criteria here is that the court poet is gonna say whatever that king wants to hear. So forget about
that
it.
depends, Uncle. We
Oh,
go
come on.
into that.
So
But
you
it's a
gonna
separate
tell me
argument.
the griots in Mali were praising Islam, but the ones in ancient Ghana and Ouagadougou, the ones in
I'm not saying
Ouagadougou
that.
wouldn't
I'm
praise
not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving credence to the fact that the griot tradition
Yes.
is also the griot can also
very-
advocate on behalf of the people against the royalty. That happens too.
Yes.
Yeah. You could
If he's
have
not
prayed some.
inside of the court.
If you could,
he's
yeah,
not
no,
inside
maybe
the
so.
court.
But the
Yeah.
point is that griots are politicians as well. So if the man is not
They
advocating,
know how to speak. They know how to speak.
Right.
Some of them are even comedians. They do it as a joke.
This
like
is the
how
point.
we do calypso in Trinidad.
This is- right.
You do it by singing it as a joke.
This is the point,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just putting that context
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, I understand that too.
But when I talk about the hyper valorization and the systematic denigration,
It's a false parallel.
but
I heard you the first time.
it cannot be a false parallel.
No, I'll tell you
because
why.
the fact of the
We
gun.
the gun. No, that's a major game changer.
It is. But if we're talking about cultural
Yep.
denigration,
Yep.
one need not have a gun
No,
to perform that.
That constitutes culture shock. If I come to you and by degrees, gradually by degrees, you assimilate, there is not a culture shock. It's like you beginning to lift weights. I'm sure you do training. You're beginning to lift weights, yeah? And they're gonna give you 100 kg to bench press at once. You're gonna bust your chest, your shoulder's gonna go. I'm an old trainer, I know this. However, you start gradually and your muscles build up to it, you tune in. And that's the difference with Islam. Islam came at such a pace. Okay, put it this way. It came at a third world pace. It came at a third world. It came at a pace where it managed to assimilate among the people. Some didn't like it. Some liked it.
Most
Some,
didn't.
Many of them do. Wallahi,
didn't.
I swear to you, my dear brother, with the best.
And-
If most didn't like it, it would not have taken. You know why most didn't like Christianity? Well, let me land.
Yeah.
You know why most didn't like Christianity, and it took
Wow.
force, guns, cannon, sheer force.
All right.
With Islam,
Let's
Islam,
challenge this.
I'm a Muslim.
Go.
Islam didn't. You're not going to be theatrics.
Go.
Islam did not come in such a manner as to constitute a culture shock. Take his part of the world, where his people had a basically jihad crusade thing going on with Ethiopia. The Ethiopians were Orthodox Christian, or Tewahedo as they call themselves, and the Muslims were there. Now as the Christians moved down the mountain, massive from Aksum, as they moved further south, they came into conflict with the Adal Sultanate. They came into conflict with Muslims, right? Now, I'm reading the Christian account right now, and of course the Ethiopian Christians make it appear, these dogs and vipers of Satan keep biting me, King Amdasion, talking about being constantly attacked by Muslims. What he is not saying is that he was an imperialist force pushing south, right, cutting across their trading area, Adal Sultanate with Shoa, the Shoa people inside Ethiopia. He was beginning, by pushing south, he was cutting into their trade routes and disrupting it, and they fought him. And it turned, of course, if these are Christians and these are Muslims, it's going to turn into a crusade jihad. And that's what happened. Now, because the Ethiopians were, I'm coming back to my point, literate, the Ethiopians had writing. They could put that down in Ge'ez or Amarinya or Tigrinya and say, look at what these dogs of Satan, these vipers, these Muslims are doing. And of course, a guy like James Bruce, the first, that's how they're writing.
I know. If I was you, I'll take it personally.
No, they don't want to. Now they don't want to.
This is the online thing again.
Now, show your face. Look, is this we talking about him? Now,
What's going on?
now check it out.
Where are you to Uncle? Where are you to Uncle?
That's it. You know what I get hammered like. Now check it out. James Bruce, the first scholar, the first European scholar to go through, well, they were Portuguese before, but the first one that the British rate, James Bruce, when he went, he immediately took their side because he was welcomed by the Ethiopian court.
Yes.
And they gave him all the chronicles to read. You give the man his props. He learned the language.
Yes.
He learned Arabic.
Yes.
James Bruce. He learned and all that. And the man reading the text of the original. However, what he did, and he's a Christian, he presented it as if they were right and Muslims were bad.
Yes.
The usual kind of narrative. Now, if they were traditional African worshippers, the Ethiopians.
They both rode against the traditionalists in Ethiopia.
I know exactly. No, but if they were, you would be saying to me, look, we have writings to show what the Muslims did. You'd be saying that. But they couldn't.
No, I don't have to do that. Because for me, all right, let me say this, Uncle, yeah? as you
what
would
I'm trying to
know,
know, what I'm trying to show is,
yeah.
it is this jihad. Yeah, don't forget me. No, hold on. Don't bring it for the camera, man. What are you gonna do that? You gonna do that to
Hide
a
the
brother?
goods,
You
DJ
gonna do a
Riza.
brother like
It is,
that?
man.
Yeah.
We don't want evidence.
You gonna do a brother like
Hide the
that?
goods, man.
Don't
Hide the
put-
goods.
Don't put that in front of the camera. No. Well, hold it. Keep it. Now,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that fight is between matched armies. People like him.
Yeah.
Let's pretend he's matched. It's a match fight. The crusade, the jihad in Ethiopia and Horn of Africa, it's a battle of equals. That I understand. But when you have Europeans coming with cannon, guns, and they're doing it they're being financed by a kingdom abroad, right? They're being financed, the King of Portugal or Queen Elizabeth I. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. My young brother.
But I wouldn't deny, if we're talking strictly on the level of military battle, that you'd be correct. I wouldn't deny that. I would argue that
the Ethiopians are writing, the Muslims are writing.
yeah,
So
but-
me,
cool.
I can't fault with that.
But I wouldn't argue again. I wouldn't argue on the basis of military. What I'm saying is systematic denigration of a culture does not require guns or superior arms and weaponry. It can simply be.
Let me agree with you a bit. I'm being a bit
Right,
serious.
cool, right.
Let me agree with you a bit. Yes, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, what we are having is, in the Islamic context, it happened so gradually and over such a long period of time. When the jihads really came into force, a lot of the people were Muslim. Like Usman Dan Fodio, when the jihad came into, like when it became a real jihad, as we understand the meaning of the term, the people are already Muslim. They were just like lapsed, like.
No, but I'm going to speak because the Saleh weren't Muslim. The Mossi resisted Islam. The Dogon had to move from wherever they was living and find a home in some hill and gully
No,
to
that's
protect,
what
to protect
Chancellor
themselves.
Williams said.
Right?
Suppose the
But it's
Dogon were always living in the
But
Banjagara escarpment.
but you have to give me evidence of that. But the fact
But
of the
how?
matter is,
But
but
yeah,
the fact
you
of the matter is-
I'm going to tell you. You have to give me evidence that they fled.
No, but that's
See
it.
what I did there? See
No,
what I did
no,
there?
but uncle.
I'm clever on time.
Uncle. The fact of the matter is that is their story. That is a story.
An Islamic cap.
Right?
Look what he's wearing. Let me stop. I can't. When I start being mischievous, I can't
It's all
stop.
good, uncle. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm going to trouble the Igbo man just like
When you're ready,
with
when
the
you're
Igbo.
ready. My point is, uncle, yeah. And if we want
Yeah,
to,
okay, let's
and
be serious, let's be serious.
the Dogon, for example, is an excellent example.
Very good example.
Right.
We can't say
Right.
for sure that we
No,
know they were
no.
pushed there. We know they were in the Banjagara
But uncle,
escarpment.
what we
But
do
we
know-
can't say that for sure.
But what we do
I know
know,
Chancellor Williams says this,
But uncle-
but he supposes it. He doesn't factually say. He supposes
but it's
it.
not. But this is not just Chancellor Williams's assertion.
Okay, who says
there
that
are
the
many
Dogon were
historians.
pushed there?
There are many historians,
Okay, then I will have to
including their own oral history, that suggest that. Listen,
Yeah.
Mali is a Muslim country. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The Dogon, right? The Dogon operate. Come true.
Many
You
of
come
them-
late, bro. You're too
many of
late
them- Why you
for
always
this
do this?
convo. You're too late for this
Why you
convo,
always
bro.
do this?
didn't see
Yeah,
your shirt.
because you chop all the kenke and fish by yourself.
You know what I'm saying? You
And
know,
then
by
you
yourself,
come-
and then you
then
come
come the
share
hungry
with the
people.
man there. You know what I mean? Supposed to share with the man there. Supposed to share with the man
Yeah,
there.
chop all
I
the
think
all the
all the man
contumely.
said, damn devil talk all the way here.
All right, see that, yeah.
The House of Madness, you had to go through it. Yeah,
What were we
But
saying?
this is the point I'm trying to make, uncle, because in the sense of the fact that
Oh, the Dogon.
right,
Sorry,
yeah.
the
Let me
Dogon.
come to the Dogon for a second. I'll deal with a quick point here. Much of what you're saying about the coming of the Arabs into Africa,
Not Arabs, Muslims. Arabs didn't come in.
both. How did they come in?
When did the Arabs
How did
come?
they come in?
Which
in
Arabs?
In 639.
You're talking about white
No,
Africa.
no,
Yeah,
hold
you
on,
see,
hold on.
you're misleading the people. That's white Africa.
No.
Roman Africa.
No. Understand what I'm saying. You're saying that a lot of what
Conquest
came
was in the north.
Yeah,
But
was
it
in the
was
north,
white.
right?
It was white.
But we're talking about the trade.
It was
Yeah.
white.
But I'm saying those people that conquered the north
Right.
were trading with the west. Yeah.
Berbers too.
Yes.
Remember the middlemen.
But we're not denying that.
But the middlemen
we're not denying that.
The middlemen were the Tuareg.
Uncle, but we're not denying that.
Arabs
but we're
did
not
not come
denying
down.
that. But at that point, all I'm saying is when you've got a group coming in like that,
Right.
they come
In
from
the
a
north.
centralized power point,
In the north.
and they begin to have an impact upon the trade.
Yes.
The trade begins to be controlled by them,
They-
and therefore, hold on, and therefore, being able to facilitate business
Yes.
increasingly becomes reliant upon your ability to accommodate Islam, right? Either via conversion or accommodation. That's a reality.
Let's
and
stop
for the
there.
most part, African
You're
indigenous
half
systems-
right. You're half right. You're half right. You're half right.
But let me get to the point I'm trying to make, though,
Good,
yeah?
good.
Because when we're dealing with
Stick up in there.
when we're dealing with the Europeans, because they didn't just come. with guns and boats and cannon, right? The Portuguese were in West Africa from the 1430s.
Yep.
Yeah, and the
Angolans converted
right?
voluntarily to Christianity.
Right, exactly.
Voluntarily.
Right? Well, the elite did. Yeah, the elite did, and it causes problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's it called? Right. But the point is that they came
Yeah.
and they were engaging in all kind of different trade. Yeah,
Right.
with people in West Africa and Central Africa.
Yes.
As the Spanish came in soon after them,
Right.
it wasn't until
No,
1492.
The Spanish weren't really in
Yeah.
Africa too much.
No, but
Small.
you and I both know. But you and I.
Fernando Po.
Yeah, it was small. I'm not denying that. But you and I know that
were one day Western
that the Portuguese and the Spanish were in beef over who was going to control the
Yeah,
world.
the Treaty of Tordesillas.
So
The Treaty of
they were
Tordesillas.
in sync with these things.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is, when they first came, they came trading with man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't just come
But
with
you know the
with
reason
gun.
why, of course. They were attempting to get to the east.
Well,
They're on
yes,
their way east.
but they were all
But they had to stop off. They had to keep stopping.
There's all
They
kinds
couldn't just, go there.
There's all kinds of
Yeah.
reasons why. But
Right.
part of it was because they were coming out of after the Moors came and civilized them. Right? What's it called? They
Reconquista.
were coming out of their dark ages, so to
Right,
speak,
right.
and they were looking for spice and
Yep.
you know
Spices,
all
yeah,
kind, yeah, that kind of
Portuguese
different
I have
thing.
to back up the people.
Yeah, like, it's true. Like, that's the fact. But my only point is that
Right.
it's not too dissimilar a story. They didn't just come and say convert to Christianity. The missionaries came. Right and built, and when the white man says, yeah, but we built.
No, but I
your
see what
argument
you-
is similar.
No, but you're
The
leaning.
white man says,
no, you're leaning on the Portuguese and so when I said to you, let's not lean on them. We have agreed.
no,
that. No, I said.
Uncle,
No, I said not
what
to
we're
lean.
saying is the
I said-
Europeans.
no,
when the Europeans
no,
came,
but what I said.
because it was the Portuguese
forget
that
about
opened
them.
the way. No, but we can't forget
No.
about them. We can't forget about them because if it's the Portuguese and that early interaction
Yep.
that opened the way and paved
Yep.
the way for the Spanish,
Yep.
the British,
Right.
the French,
The Danes.
and all of the rest of them came to come in. It
Yep.
was through the trade relationships
Yep.
that the Portuguese had already established.
Right.
So, and I'm saying that if we're talking, I'm not making the argument that they just came and started grabbing people out of the land.
No.
The Arabs did, right, and taking them across east.
Right.
It was a developmental process
Yep.
facilitated by trade relationships
Right.
that were already developed.
Right.
Right. So that's one point. The
Right.
second point is that when we're talking about
I'm going to challenge that point.
but uncle,
Yeah,
fine,
right.
that's fine. But when we're talking about hyper-valorization of Islam and the systematic denigration of African culture and spiritual systems, it's done in this context. So I'm not relying on the people them, whether they are Africans who convert to Islam or non-Africans who are Muslim. Yeah, I'm not relying upon them having superior weaponry. That's not what I'm saying.
But you must rely on it.
But there are examples of it though, in the sense of the fact that, and this is
That's the Ottoman period. That's
no,
late.
well, put it this way.
That was when the Bashawat period in the Nile.
That's true.
That's happened there,
But
yeah.
when the Moroccans invaded Songhai,
But that was Muslim on Muslim, huh?
I know.
That's Muslim on Muslim.
I know. But part of
The
them,
Battle of Tondibi.
but you would agree with me that the Moroccans considered themselves
The Moroccan army was basically European. They hired mercenaries.
initially, yes. In fact, the first brigade apparently their language was Spanish.
Yep, Judas Pasha and all
What's it
that.
called? But they were also funded by Elizabeth I.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we
the-
know
the-
the
the
relationship.
Moroccans,
He was trying to get a trade in saltpeter with her for guns, and then he wanted to marry her, the Sultan Mansur, and
Yeah,
she refused him.
I'm not
Yeah.
completely cognizant on the marital thing. Yeah.
Shakespeare even references it in one of his plays. He
Yeah.
didn't talk. He alludes to it
Yeah.
in one of his plays.
Right.
Let him go. Let all of my complexion choose me.
But my point is that throughout that period of time now, when it becomes just Africans, yeah, one of the things that becomes a battle point is how sophisticated or developed or pure, yeah, is your Islam. Usman Dan Fodio.
Yes, we love him.
Right.
Some people love it.
Right. So yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I shall
right?
listen to nothing against him.
Indeed. But part of his beef with the Hausa was.
The Kanuri hate him.
This is the point.
And the Kanuri
But this
were
is the
more
point.
Muslim than-
And
the
but it's-
Kanuri
but
were
isn't-
more Muslim than him.
But this is the, but he didn't consider them so.
No,
when
he
he
did
when
not.
he when
No,
he invaded
it's his-
Hausa,
it's his son,
right?
it's Muhammad
And
Bello.
and
It's his son.
part of the reason was because Usman didn't consider the Hausa Muslim enough. He thought he had a purer Islam than them, and also the Hausa he felt were subjecting other Muslims to servitude,
unfair taxation.
which he thought was wrong under Islam. So
Yep.
everybody else, you can fend for yourself, but
Right.
you can't be doing that to your Muslim brother. That's what he was on. Right? What's it called? Right? Hold on, another one. Ahmed Baba, celebrated scholar,
We love.
the most celebrated scholar,
Yes.
yeah, of Timbuktu,
Yes.
wrote a document
I know the document.
on slavery.
We studied the document.
Right.
About who's enslavable and
who's not enslavable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being Muslim
criteria.
became, I'm sorry, being
criterion.
not being Muslim
criterion.
became a criteria,
Yep.
right? But not just being not Muslim, but not being Muslim enough. So certain men who are Muslim, but
No.
you know what I'm saying, you pull a libation on a Saturday. That's you.
No,
That's
no,
you.
no,
That's you. You
no,
can't.
it's not true. No, it's not true.
You're subject to it, fam.
No.
Game over.
It's over for you.
It's not over for you. What's over for you is if you are not a Muslim. But what I didn't like about it, they did it according to nations. So you may have had some Muslims in that nation. They're called the Yoruba Afnu.
Yeah.
They call them Afnu in
Right.
that text. And he said they are enslavable. Now, in my opinion, so what about the Yorubas who are Muslims?
Who are Muslim?
Well, they did do it by nation.
Yeah. But the point is that there were groups that were considered to be Muslim
Enslavable.
and groups that were considered to not to be Muslim.
That's
so the
right,
point is
it's
that
true.
and then you got the Solaire people, the Mossi resisted, we mentioned the Dogon already, and even Kanem Bornu, yeah. What's it called? There are because the Kanem people were not Muslim initially. At a point they became Muslim, and then their empire
When
spread.
did they become Muslim?
I can't remember the year.
It's so long ago they themselves
remember the
don't
year.
know.
I can't
If
remember
you
the year.
take a Kanuri person and try to extract Islam from his culture,
No.
he will cease to exist.
But we're not going to deny that.
They
but-
have been Muslims
but
too
Uncle,
long.
Many
They're not
Africans,
like Yoruba.
many Africans would have that difficulty if you were to try to take Christianity out as well. It's
Which
just a
one?
thing.
Which
Many
one?
would.
Only
Many
an
would.
Ethiopian.
We've been
Or an
Christian.
Eritrean.
For 500 years.
Which one? A Zimbabwean? You must be joking. A Zimbabwean? In Nigerian?
Yes.
They have every Igbo man practices African shrine. Every one of them. These guys can exist.
There are
without
there are Africans who are Muslims who still go to their shrine.
You know,
Nah, that's-
Ethiopian.
It's the truth.
Nah,
You
nah,
don't know it's the truth.
Bruv, I'm
Go
saying,
you can't
Senegal.
go to the
Right
shrine
now,
and
go
maintain that
Senegal.
you're Muslim, bro.
Say again?
You can't go to the shrine and maintain that.
can't do that.
I won't go into the creed.
But the same
No.
the same can be said for being Christian.
No,
then.
apart from Ethiopians and Eritreans and maybe Copts.
You and I,
Copts are
but,
kind
but,
of
but
white.
Uncle, you know that Christianity was in Africa before Islam was.
I know that.
Right.
You're
right.
preaching, you're singing to the
But
choir.
this is the point I'm trying to make. So what I'm saying is,
No, those Christians I say, yeah, so I do.
yeah.
Ethiopians.
And in North Africa, there was
Eritreans-
Christians in North Africa before Islam came.
They are not around. You just said Copts.
Why are they not around? Because Muslims came.
We have defeated them.
That's the reason why.
We do not love. No, we love.
There's still some unity, though.
Huh?
There's still some.
In the Coptic, I said, us in
There's loads of Copts in Egypt. Loads.
and Sudan,
Ghana.
and Ethiopia. That's
No,
different.
what we're talking about, okay, let's be serious. I should be taking this a little more seriously. The thing is this, conquest in Islamic terms was, I tell you what they liked Africans cottoned on to with the Portuguese and the Spanish. The Portuguese and the Spanish had that same mentality like the Arabs.
Yeah.
It's about the mentality. They came and look at them in South America. Look at the amount of poor Spanish settled in Colombia, in Peru, in Cuba, in Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
and married with the people mixed so that you got these Hispanic people, you don't know whether they're white or they're brown.
Yeah.
It is the same when they went to Africa. The other Europeans like the Dutch, the French, and the French for a time in Haiti
Yeah.
did elevate their mulatto children. And actually that was part of what the revolution started.
Yeah.
But it's a sidebar. Mostly, those three Europeans, the main traders, the Dutch, the French, and the British,
Yeah.
had an attitude that they were superhuman and these were super animals. Blacks were animals. The Portuguese, the Spanish, and the Arabs did not have that mentality. They didn't have that mentality.
My
They
only
would
point-
eat the food the people made. Afro-Portuguese children
Yeah.
were the beach.
But uncle, my only point though, and you, I,
No, I'm trying to explain to you.
But what
the
you described to
human,
me,
you're not,
but
when
you're
you talk-
agreeing with me. All I'm saying
I'm
is,
agreeing with you, but when
yeah.
you're discussing history, you have to insert the human factor.
The only point I'm making is that what you talk about in terms of the initial relationship that Africans had with these people is not too dissimilar. Yeah, the same way that because the Portuguese and the Spanish opened the way for the rest of the Europeans.
Not the
yeah?
Spanish, Portuguese.
The Portuguese then, right?
Spanish were in the West.
Yeah, okay. There's a reason why because anyway, that's neither here nor
More in the
there,
West.
right? But I'm saying that but the Europeans didn't just come waging war and kidnapping people and imposing Christianity. They developed relationships and trade, and you have people stay in certain
That's
places.
the Portuguese.
They had
When the English came,
anthropologists.
they pushed out those guys.
But I'm saying the
Dutch
Europeans.
first.
But I'm saying the Europeans, uncle.
You're
That's what I'm saying.
amalgamating the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So that process that facilitated that thing
Yep.
started a particular way, and I'm saying that what you describe in terms of Islam and the Arabs and so on and so forth is not too dissimilar.
No, it's dissimilar.
Of course,
dissimilar.
Of course there are differences.
It's dissimilar. Arabs never actually came to West Africa.
No, but I'm not saying that they did. What I'm saying is,
Well, you know,
and they tried,
You're saying Portuguese.
and they tried.
When did they try?
And yeah, they tried. But hear me,
Tuareg
right?
was there blocking
Hear
them.
me, they tried.
Tuareg said stop that.
Why I'm saying they tried is partly because there were a number of attempts to invade Ouagadougou, Ghana Empire. Yeah, they just failed. Yeah, what's it called at the time? All right, until the Tekro people managed to get some headway in. Right, and then after that, the empire never quite recovered.
Black on black,
right?
black on
You
black.
see what I'm saying? Yeah, but black on black
Black
based
on
upon
black.
what? Because as far as I'm anyway, right? But to me, that's neither here nor there.
We discussed
because,
this before.
No, but
If
uncle,
you-
it's
if
neither
you
here
are
nor
trying
there.
to present Islam as a
No.
foreign religion.
Yeah,
what
I
has
do
been
believe it's a
there-
religion.
It's been there longer than many
but
new African religions just
now,
invented.
but not in 1066. It was new then, right? And
Yeah, but you can't talk about 1066
I
new.
can.
It's gone.
But
it's
hold on,
past.
hold on.
It's vintage.
No, but uncle.
It's vintage,
No, but that's not the point. The point I'm making is if you're gonna make an
long time
assessment,
ago.
if you're gonna make an assessment of the African-centered position
Yeah.
on Islam,
Yeah.
then you have to factor in the fact that when Christians came and told us that we were pagan and savage,
Yup.
etc.,
With guns.
yes, but the Muslim also came.
When? Which one? No, Europeans. You're using race one time, and the next time you're using religion. Stick with race. So the
Fine,
Europeans.
fine.
No, talk about the race of the other one.
I did say the Christian though. I did say the Christian.
They did.
I did say the Christian.
You said the
I-
Europeans came.
No. Just now, I just said the Christian.
The Europeans came.
I did say the Christian, but what I'm saying is the point.
I shall ask them to roll the tape.
That's fine. And if I'm wrong, I stand corrected, right? But the point I'm making is we're talking about because I'm defending
Yep.
the African-centered position.
And you must, of
right?
course,
Now,
of
what I'm
course.
saying is
I agree.
that regardless of what, because it could be gun, it could be bomb, nuclear, atomic, or manacle, it don't matter. The
Yep.
point is that when you've got a force of people
Yep.
that enter.
Force, say force. Use the word force.
No, a force of people. This is what I'm saying.
Which Muslims force? Which one?
Here I'm saying, uncle. Let me finish. You'll understand. I promise. Yeah. What's it called? That come and tell you that your traditions, your spirituality, are pagan, are of the devil. Yes, of people.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Yes. The force of people. Yes.
The Europeans
Yes.
have force.
Military is a force. Trade is a force. Economics is a force. Social organization is a force. Church is a force of people. At the moment, we are a force of people, right? You know what I'm saying?
Can I mention something?
1 second, let me finish, right? What's it called? What I'm saying is that the Afrocentric scholar is defending
Good.
and challenging
Good.
that characterization.
I
That-
agree,
what
it should
they're
be
saying is,
challenged.
so regardless of regardless of whether it was peaceful, regardless of whether it was a gun or a sword.
No. Now we part company.
No. Hold on.
You can't use the word force and then say even if it was peaceful.
No, you can. I said no. Hold on. Cool.
That's good
I
force.
didn't
Break it.
I
I
didn't
wanna
just
see
say
how-
force.
yeah, how
I said a force of people.
Right.
So you can't negotiate anything at all.
No. No.
I want to know how you
For
reconcile
example,
force of people
yeah.
with peaceful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It means you can't negotiate at
No,
all.
hold on. I'm not saying it was peaceful, you know. What I'm saying is regardless of whether it was, missionaries are a force of people. The missionaries didn't necessarily come with guns.
They had
Oftentimes,
backup. They had backup in case of.
So you're telling me-
there was a
Uncle now.
factory.
Uncle.
What was that stuff? No, let me tell you, missionaries.
but I don't know why you're divorcing.
No, missionaries did not just come like a European monk with a cassock coming into Africa by himself. They had factories on the coast established. The missionaries, they were attached. No, they were attached to what are called factories. The factories were actually where.
Eventually, yeah, but no one's disputing that.
No,
But you're saying that as though
They did.
as though
They were-
caliphates did not have armies.
No.
And people that were sent out
No.
to convert masses.
No.
Right. So they.
No,
But so
it's
that-
different.
As though people that.
Wait, armies, yeah.
No,
Hear what I'm saying?
You got a bit wrong.
If
You,
the-
you,
when
were-
there
you were
was-
doing very well. You were doing
When the
very well.
Uncle, when the Arabs come into North Africa,
Yeah.
did they come with armies exclusively,
I like, when you,
or were?
I like when you use the word Arabs and Africa. It gives the impression that these Arabs attacked all these black people. It means North
No.
Africa, white people. Romans.
First of all, it wasn't just about having them in
Majority
Africa.
of the north
But it
of Africa
matters-
was white.
Oh, yeah, but let's say,
And Christian with some Jews.
I don't know.
with some Jews,
I
with
don't know.
some
If,
Jews.
I don't know if I can say the majority, but
The majority of
but there was
North
there was a
Africa was
significant.
Christian
We've dealt with
and
this.
some Jews.
But we dealt with this, and I agree with
Yeah,
you.
we talked about
And I
that.
agree with you,
Yeah.
right? So we don't need to go over that. What I'm saying is, I'm not making that point at the moment. What I'm saying is, we can't. Are you making the claim
Yeah.
that whoever they were fighting against, that they came with exclusively army personnel, or were there scholars amongst them? Were there imams amongst them? Yeah.
In North Africa?
Yes.
You mean when they were conquering Romanized population speaking Latin?
Yes, Uncle.
I'm making up for the camera, lest you
I
give
know.
them, you mislead them
Yes,
by
Uncle.
making them believe
Yes, Uncle.
Arabs attack Negroes.
Yes, Uncle.
I know that's what you're trying
Yes,
to do.
Uncle.
You are a very mischievous person, right?
Yes,
no,
Uncle.
no, of course.
What did they come
yes,
with?
they had scholars. Even Amr
They had scholars.
They had scholars. They did.
They had
did.
imams.
They did.
And all these kinds of
They
things.
did. That's quite
right.
true.
So the point is that
Wait, were the imams, the imam and the scholars, were they divorced from the armies, or was it often the people in the armies themselves who were the da'i to Islam?
Army themselves.
Because I'm not even an arse as a companion, people that had knowledge
That's what I'm
themselves.
saying.
Right.
So,
So
it,
here
wouldn't
we
have been it wouldn't have been a force where, you know, they send out like a propaganda force and then follow it up with armies.
I'm not-
or
No, he's
fire.
not
I'm not making that argument. What I'm saying is that just as much when you're conquering a people,
Yep.
there are various different.
Soft power.
That's the point
There's
I'm
hard
making.
and soft power.
Right.
I get you.
And I'm saying
I
that
get
the
you.
soft,
but that
the soft
applies to
power
North
in the,
Africa with the
but I'm-
Arabs,
yeah, but I'm
not to
dis-
Black Africa with the Arabs.
No, but we can't make that
I have
argument.
to keep hammering that point.
Yeah, no, but we can't make that argument if at the same time we are saying that the trade relationship,
Yeah.
based upon the domination in the north,
Yes.
facilitated
Yes.
an
Islamization
economic
from the
context that was what's the word? Amenable to the spread of Islam.
Okay, young.
We can't make that
Okay,
point.
brother.
But
But can you
I'm also saying,
imagine
but
this?
it wouldn't be, but Uncle, it wouldn't be so bad,
Yeah.
if that all of that didn't come with
Yes.
a narrative
Yes.
that denigrated the culture of the people that we're dealing with.
I agree with
and
that
so
part.
so when the people convert,
I agree with that.
so
bit.
when the people now convert,
Yeah.
right? Even when we're dealing
They
with
feel they're better now than the rest of non-Muslims.
and that
I
that
agree
and
with
that
you.
and that facilitates what
Self-hate,
I
a bit of
described.
self-hate.
Not the self-hate.
Yeah.
What I described as
No, I agree with
systematic.
I've got a question.
System,
that
I'm
He's
coming.
making
I'm
a
coming.
point. He's
But
making
what I'm
a
saying is,
point.
what that does is it facilitates what I define as systematic denigration. And I'm saying that when the Afrocentric and I haven't even got to some of the things that people on your timeline have said that I want to challenge, right? But what's it called? But when the Afrocentric is challenging
Yes.
Islam in that context,
Right.
they're challenging that characterization.
Right.
And they're saying that the fact that we have adhered to this characterization of our own culture
Right.
has meant that we have facilitated our own destruction.
Right.
Politically, economically, and culturally, etc., etc.
They go too
I make a
far.
point, Uncle.
They go too far.
Uncle.
I shall.
You know, but you're forgetting when Islam came to Arabia, the Arabs had the same mentality.
It's the same African religion. It's the same African religion.
So when it
As in
came,
it
it
done
said
away with
your
the Arab
culture
religion.
is wrong.
No, I'm not disputing that.
So when it comes to Africa,
I wouldn't dispute that.
it's the same thing.
I know of
You're
the.
forgetting
what- you know
that
what he's
Islam
talking
tells
about,
the
yeah.
Arabs as well.
Not only
your
that.
culture.
Okay, so let me.
some of
All
them
right,
are
so
wrong.
he's discussing
So
with.
it's not Arabs saying we are superior
The difference-
because we are
Right,
Arab.
okay,
There's a major
bring
difference.
it.
There's a major
Come
difference
back
in
to
what
me.
you're saying.
Come back
There's a
to
major
me.
difference,
Come
right?
back to me.
But-
Come.
but-
We got you. No, we got you.
People.
Yeah, I don't.
Which had
If it starts,
characters of
if
which
it starts to
he
rain, I will have to leave.
described.
That's fine,
Let's
that's
go
fine.
quickly.
But-
No,
yeah,
listen to this. Now listen.
Arab on
Check.
Arab.
100%.
Oh, y'all, the
The
camera's
way
here.
it's manifest with the Arabs is different with the way it manifests
All right,
with
y'all.
the Africans.
Okay, y'all, check it out. Check it
No,
out.
but he's complaining like when
The
Islam
difference.
Yeah, but we are.
Islam said to African, your identity, your
I
culture
think he's more
is
arguing
nothing
about
to me,
Arabs. He's more
that
arguing
this
about
is-
the Arabs bringing how the Arabs brought Islam and the Arabs made out like African culture or the Arabs denigrated African culture,
But
placing
Islam
Islam,
told
not
the
Islam
same
itself.
Arabs. But Islam
okay,
told
what
the
you're
same
doing is
Arabs.
You're focusing on the Islamic part. He's not focusing on the
What I
deen.
wonder are-
He's focusing on the people carrying it. So that's
start
that's
raining.
And then I'm
But
saying,
that's the
and then I'm saying,
but that's the point he's coming from.
what I'm saying is that when we, as African people now, adopted the religion, therefore we adopted that mentality in relation to our thing as well. So all I'm saying is, it would if it never came with that characterization,
Right.
Yeah.
the Afrocentric scholar would have had no problems in that regard. But the fact of the matter is that it did. right? And so if you are now an African-centered scholar, validating things that are African, saying no, this characterization that the Europeans impose upon us is false, and you discover that the Arabs came with the same characterization, and Africans, just like we did in Christianity, Africans in Islam and Christianity.
False parallel.
Can you go into specifics?
It's a false parallel.
Can you go into specifics?
We keep going. But let me, before the brother interrupted,
It's a false parallel.
Wait, hold on. Before the brother interrupted, you made a
Yes.
point that I need to address.
Go ahead.
Now, one of the mistakes I think we make is of speaking about an African culture instead of African cultures. I think we need to look at Africa not as a monolith. When you talk about the Islam destroying African culture,
Yes.
what you are talking about is if you take people like the Nilo-Saharans,
Yes.
who always believed in one God,
Yes.
or the Hamites, like the Kushites, like the Somali,
Yes.
the Afar, the Oromo, they always never represented God in forms of statuary, and they've always believed in an invisible one God. Now, what I'm saying is, whereas on the other side of the water, as the brother just said, in the Arabian Peninsula, they believed in God or traditional spirituality in the way the Africans did. So what you have is some Africans whose religion resembles what the Arabians of the peninsula were practicing, whereas you have some Africans in Africa long before Islam believing in one God the way the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ believed.
I'm gonna disagree with you.
Yeah,
And I think you're
I am
overstating the
very
point.
conversant with Dinka culture.
No.
You said you're not Deng. Deng didn't know his culture.
yeah.
He didn't know his culture. He was born a Muslim. He was a Hafiz.
Astaghfirullah.
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 Astaghfirullah عليك. عليك انت. أقول لك يا أخي.
Alhamdulillah.
No, the guy, he likes
There's some Tawheed in Shaka.
He likes the quote. No, he likes the quote a brother. He likes the quote a brother called Denga Jack. Denga Jack is a Dinka who was born in South Abbasiya Omdurman under the name of Muhammad Hassan Kabsoon. I am a friend to the family. He was a Hafiz of Quran who taught me Quran before he apostatized. He apostatized because his family. No, I have friends who are going to get upset with me from the Dinka community.
cool.
I'm making a point now because I have friends in the Dinka community who are going to get upset. They put pressure on him to say a Dinka and Islam are mutually incompatible because those Jalaba, those Arabs had come south during the Ottoman period and destroyed our culture, took your grandfather as a slave to Omdurman, and that is why you are a Muslim.
So what you're saying to me, Uncle, is that the Muslims who were in Sudan didn't regard the Dinka Tawheed as any more of God or of Allah
No, they
or halal
they were walking around naked. They were walking around naked and they couldn't reconcile that to civilization.
But I get your distinction.
But they're very wrong to do that too.
Contrary to popular belief,
Yep.
the Afrocentric perspective is not that there is one exclusively monolithic spiritual system in Africa. The Afrocentric scholarship
But they
tradition,
like to think that Ifa is the prototype.
No.
They have a belief. They like to go around as if
with all due
Ifa is the
respect,
prototype.
With all due respect, Ifa
Or Vodum. Ifa and Vodum. They like those two.
Ifa comes to the forefront for two reasons.
We know.
One,
urban civilization.
what's it called? One, for the first one is that as far as codified system, there is an argument that it's the most developed.
They were a settled
two,
civilization with cities, big cities.
But the other reason is because of its proliferation in the Americas, right? That's the reason why. Yeah. So there's reasons for that. So Ifa becomes an archetype for understanding.
What the Afrocentrics do. I'm not speaking about the intellectuals like yourself. I'm speaking about the people who think the people who dare to criticize me. I'm talking about the Hoteps. They come up with foolishness and assume that African religion is what the Vodun of Haiti or the Candomblé people of Brazil do.
Yeah.
Now, African religion, if you go to the Dinka, the Nuer, the Shilluk, that is unrecognizable to them.
All right.
They don't identify with that.
Another
you have
conversation for another
Africans
time.
who don't even beat drums. Yo, African country don't have drums.
I like to know. I like to know which African don't lick drum. Like that's it's a very.
The Dinka.
It's a very.
The Dinka.
There's drums in Sudan. Uncle.
No, no,
Very
the Dinka.
No, but-
No,
but
I can
the
tell.
drum-
You see,
Come on now.
you know book, but you ain't no chapter.
drum.
I can see you know book, but you ain't no chapter. I can see what's going on here. Now.
But let's-
I see what's
let's
going
test
on
that,
now.
let's test that,
But
let's
I see
test
what's
that.
up now.
Let's
Let me
test that,
tell
let's
you,
test that.
even
But
Rwanda,
either way-
even the Tutsi only have one drum. The
But
tall
yeah,
drum.
but they have a drum.
They
There,
have-
there are times when
Now
the
the
Ga
Baganda-
people,
the Baganda now,
but uncle, the
they
Ga
like the Ghanaian people with
people,
the
the Ga
drums.
people have
But some don't have
periods
drums.
of complete silence when no drumming is allowed. The point is, yeah, that it to me.
That's a sidebar.
Yeah, it's very much a
It's a
sidebar.
sidebar,
The point because I'm going to agree.
I'm saying
with
that
you.
there's a variety of ways of being
There are a
African.
variety of
There's
traditions.
a number of ways of being
the
African.
Afrocentric
Yeah.
scholar only
Yeah.
makes the argument that there are commonalities,
Yeah.
and a shared
Yeah.
philosophical foundation.
Right.
For a lot. That's the only argument that is made.
Right.
However, it matters not because none of these traditions
Yes.
were considered as any better than the other when the Europeans and the Christian Europeans
Yeah.
and the Arab Muslims came.
Yeah.
They didn't say, well, the Dinka worship one God, so let's leave them alone, let them do them thing. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what they said.
They
right?
found the Dinka to
Everything
be
was
naked.
haram.
No, they found the Dinka to be naked.
Everything
They were
was
actually,
haram.
they found I tell you what,
What was perceived as worship,
Yes.
yeah, would have been the aspect of the culture. So
But this is
haram,
this is the point
right?
I'm
So
making.
that's the point where that's the point where they would have, or they should have,
Yes.
dealt away with, not the whole thing, not change man's food from fufu and kontonome to biryani or whatever.
Yes.
That the people can retain.
Yes.
Right. It's the actual.
Right.
The theocracy,
Yes.
yeah, within the two systems,
Yes.
which is what's being challenged,
Right.
Yeah, and as Abrahamics,
Yes.
Abrahamics will always say if they
Yes.
are true believers in their thing,
Yes.
yeah, my belief is better than yours.
I agree
It's
with that.
inevitable.
I
Like,
agree.
If we say, if that person would be deemed if someone came in and said, you know what, you see your voodoo
Yes.
and our Islam, you know they're saying,
Yes.
he get tossed into the same
As they would
party
do
as you.
today. Like,
yeah.
like the Morid people in Senegal are not considered as, the highest standard of the highest standard of Islam.
No, it's partly because of Magal Tuba. It's partly because of the Magal Tuba.
Okay.
They have a Sheikh Ahmad Bamba
Yes.
is claimed to have said
Yes.
that because of the poverty that prevails here,
Yes.
those who cannot go for Hajj
Yes.
can go to the city of Tuba.
But it's not just that, uncle.
What else?
Yeah, it's not just that. It's the fact that they add little things like even prior to Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, the among the Muslims
Any shrine worship amongst them?
they have
The Muris do
they
not
venerate
worship
their
shrines.
ancestors. They venerate their ancestors though.
I venerate my ancestors.
We all venerate some
We,
sort
don't,
of
we
ancestor.
pray for them.
I'm glad
We-
you accept.
hold on,
I'm glad you
hold on.
accept.
Make this point.
But
to
you
the
would
camera.
know.
No, let me
But
finish this
uncle,
point.
you would know. I'm
I
glad
want
you
to finish this
accept.
point with the camera. We pray for our ancestors. We
Yeah.
do not pray
Yeah.
to our ancestors. So
Yeah.
when I say I venerate my ancestors,
yes.
my good ancestors,
But uncle, you will
not
know-
the bad ones. I
But
got some
uncle-
bad ancestors
but
too.
uncle- Yeah.
I ain't praying for them.
Yeah.
No,
Right?
I'll pray for them too. That Allah be merciful to them and they change.
But uncle, you would know, that this is a touchy subject
Yeah.
among many Muslims.
Yeah.
And if you engage in some of those things, there are Muslims who are going to consider your
I know.
deen less
Yeah.
developed.
No, not
They
less, bro.
consider-
It's non-existent.
they
There's
Exactly.
no
Right.
half stepping.
Now,
Yeah.
there are Muslims who.
Look, there are Muslims who don't consider me a Muslim. Come on, brother.
I hear you, right?
You're not the only one.
They got Muslims
In,
who don't think I'm. You read the thread. Come on, you
see-
read. You read the
I
thread.
hear you. Not all the time, but yeah. What's his name? The one they call Ben Solomon, yeah? He was
A slave.
yes, right. He was enslaved. Yeah.
Ayub Ben
He's
Solomon?
pictured. He's got a
Ayub-
rap much like mine.
Yeah, Ayub
yeah?
Ben. That's the Fulani guy who was
Right.
captured. Yeah.
Yeah, and around his neck he has a little
Quran, Mus'haf,
Yeah,
a little
right? No,
Mus'haf.
it's not a full Quran. It's just a pouch.
A passage.
Yeah, with a passage.
Yeah,
in it,
or
right?
sometimes you can
This
have a
is
small Quran, you know.
Yeah, you
Put
can.
it
Yeah,
with-
right. But I don't think his one was a Quran. though.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But
that-
he used to write it, you know.
yeah,
He used
okay,
to write
yeah,
Qurans.
right. But that tradition comes from an earlier tradition whereby they used to have amulets.
Yes.
Yeah, that represent different things.
Yes.
There are Muslims, and I was on a live
So
one.
it's nice now to put a Quran in
Right.
it. It's great, isn't it?
Say again?
It's wonderful that they've changed it to the Quran. It's great, isn't it?
It's nice of you to put context to that still, because now I know.
No,
Right.
we know this.
But I'm saying,
even this.
but there are many that know it.
Them around.
But I'm saying that I've been on lives where Muslims have banned that practice. They're saying it's haram.
Depending
Right?
on the intention.
Right?
So yeah.
The point is that in you and uncle in the Caribbean, we've got spiritualists who deal with the Bible. Yeah, and they deal with like Proverbs and Psalms.
You wanna go? Yeah. Let's go, bro. Okay, cool. We'll talk soon.
Can I ask a question? Are you the same brother that when I was here one time, somebody challenged you about wearing Arab clothes?
Yes, him.
Okay, greetings, bro.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm liking this dress. You know what I'm saying? And you look more good. You look more good looking now.
Yes,
that you're wearing African garments.
And I'm happy as
you're
well.
You're more good looking than me right
African
now.
roots as well. Very happy.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
don't know what happened.
Yeah, man. We love that. We love that.
This is what the
African Muslim brothers do. The point is, this is the point though. It's so deep. It's so deep. But it's so deep, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's so deep. I didn't even recognize him. Like he's more good looking than me now. That he's wearing African garments. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even recognize the thing. You get me? You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Assalamu alaikum.
No, I didn't realize it was the same brother. But I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, a minute ago. I was thinking
when the young guy was teasing him.
Yeah. But I see him come every week now in some traditional. I'm like, man look good. Man look handsome now.
That's what I think.
Right, anyway.
Well, that's what I think.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Say what? You got to wear African garb to look handsome.
Yeah, man. Work it out.
Summertime. Yeah, summertime. It's a little cold.
Summertime. What was I up to before?
I'm gonna have to come with the dynamic clothes and that. Yeah.
Indeed, right? Indeed. No, yeah, Ben Solomon, right? So I'm saying that even among the Ummah, there are variations. There are things that will take you out of the fold and keep you in the fold. And I'm saying that throughout time, this became a sticking point in these various empires that were within and that surrounded Mali, Songhai, and Kanem Bornu in particular because they were the biggest, right? So I'm saying that, and people could declare jihad on others, yeah, if they were not Muslim or their Islam was not. You know what I'm saying? Scholars were brought from Arabia and Egypt and other places to purify the people of Islam and these kinds of things. And so the African-centered scholar, the Afrocentric scholar is saying, well, really...
You're speaking about people who like Al-Maghili?
I don't know Al-Maghili, but I know of, like I was mentioning earlier,
which one?
Askia bringing the scholars and the imams.
No, give me some names. Give me a name.
I brought you out earlier when I was talking about Ibn Yassin. But
no, that's Mauritania. That's long before.
I know he was in Mauritania.
No, but that's Ouagadougou period.
Yeah, what I'm challenging. Yeah, I know. What I'm challenging.
But this Askia thing, I'd like to get a name or two.
What I'm challenging.
I know Al-Maghili came to Cairo.
I'll research it.
Askia's a black African though.
No, but what I'm saying, when he went to Hajj.
He went for Hajj.
He made certain. So my argument was
he made some contracts
that he went to Egypt and
he linked up with the scholars there.
Not just the scholars, the government, and was seeking permission to be like a representative of a
like
caliph,
in
West Africa, and he got that permission. So he came back with an authority.
So was it a permission or an aid thing? Or was it more of a contract? When you say a permission, it's like he's a senator.
No.
Cultural
my argument is that
military exchange.
It doesn't mean that there were not places that were considered authorities, right, in Islam. So that's my understanding of the history. I will research it further and come back with more details. But I'm saying my understanding is that before he went to Mecca, he stopped in Egypt and was asking for
aid or whatever.
More authority to act on behalf of the Ummah in that respect. Basically, right? And so he got that permission and he came up with that authority. Mansa Musa came back, not just with glad tidings from Allah, but scholars and imams, as did Askia. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that the trajectory, the focus of the political and economic focus became adherence to this religion that was controlled and run from over there.
It wasn't controlled and run.
It was on.
A
lot of the scholars.
You're making a leap.
I don't know because we talk about Timbuktu, there were some. What's it called? There were some scholars that were writing independent works based upon the Quran, but there was also a trade in inscribing the works of scholars from Mecca and Medina. In Mali and Songhai.
Mecca and had the fewest scholars at the time. There would have been scholars in Egypt, North Africa, in Baghdad, in Damascus.
But isn't that
what I just said? In Mecca and Medina and Arabia.
No, but I mentioned earlier that at this point, Egypt became a stronghold for the thing.
But how is that imperial control? You're trying to equate that to European imperial control. And that's why I'm saying you're making false parallels throughout.
It's imperial control because when you talk from the Afrocentric perspective,
right?
The social, political, philosophical, and cultural power base has been displaced from the people to a foreign group. Yeah? That's what's taking place. Now, I'm not disputing the fact that
And
as time develops,
how did that play out in real tangibles on the ground? How did that foreign group
Again.
adversely affect these people? How did it happen? That foreign group. You
was
see,
their
that's
contribution to that
that's imperialism in the European form. He's trying to equate
but Uncle,
European
your argument,
imperialism.
with all due respect, Uncle, yeah?
With-
Your argument is like the Europeans saying, well, we came and we built roads
I'm
and
not
railways
saying that. No,
and hospitals
I'm not.
and schools.
You're saying that. You're straw manning me now. You're straw manning me now.
No, I'm drawing
what
an
saying-
equivalence.
Come on, fight fair. Right. What I'm saying is this. I'm saying Europeans had a direct link back to the motherland. They received letters of marque, they received the ships, they were underfunded, they were underwritten. Now, when you are talking about the Muslim influence in Africa, if I as Askia...
When did the centralized power? I agree with you that it wasn't
there was
centralized
no,
in that way.
after the fall of the Umayyads, there was no centralized power.
But I'm not arguing that there was. What I'm saying is Askia
Yes.
definitely considered the people that he met in Ethiopia as authorities and superior to him. Sorry, Egypt. As authorities to him and able to grant him certain powers in relation to Islam.
Well, they would have
running
known Arabic texts better than he. I would agree with that.
That's the point. And
So what's wrong
also,
with that?
and running a Muslim government. You know what I'm saying?
They would have known the language better than he. It's like you not speaking English.
Well, it's for them language, so of course they're going to know better than him.
Well, no, it's not that the Egyptians became Arabs. The
Yeah, that's
Mustarab.
what- at the point, it would have been for the language. Yeah.
So, okay, so of course, if I want to get a better tafsir or interpretation of text, I'll go to the people who speak the language. It's like a person from Guadeloupe want to read Malcolm X. You speak English, you read Malcolm X in the original. You say to him, well, look, I know your English is a bit faulty. I can read and interpret this for you. What's wrong with that?
My argument is that from an Afrocentric scholarship perspective, this facilitates
Africa
and is built
developed their own
upon
scholarship. in Islam.
Yes, but the point is that the scholarship in Islam in Africa came at the expense of the development of indigenous social structure, indigenous spirituality, indigenous philosophy.
Yes
Hear what
and
I'm
no.
saying?
Yes and no.
When you displace
Nuance. Let's go for some nuance.
Let me get
I understand
He's
that.
right. No, I said yes
I
and
understand
no.
the spirituality.
Right,
Nuance.
but let me deal with your example
Nuance.
here, because you said it.
Come with the nuance.
It
Bring
don't
the
mean.
nuance.
Yeah, it don't.
I agree with you.
Yeah, bring the
Right,
nuance. Bring
it
the
don't
nuance.
mean. It don't mean.
Bring the nuance.
Like you said, yeah. It don't, because you said a minute ago. It don't mean that you can't eat contomere and eba and negusi and these kinds of things. But you see the ancestors' business. We can't deal with that in a region. Yeah. The problem is with that.
You can pray for them.
Hear what I'm saying?
You pray for them.
Yeah, I'm
Can you
saying
tell
no.
him
Yeah,
he's
I'm saying.
forgetting that it came to Arabs with the same message
Yo,
that
man,
changed
you're
He
repeating.
gets that. He
You're
gets
repeating
that. But
that.
he's
He
not-
doesn't.
No, he
he's
got
not
it.
concerned
He
about
understood
Arabia.
you.
African culture.
No, he
He's not
understood you.
concerned about Arabia.
No,
He's
he's
understood you.
concerned-
He's only.
Can I
Actually,
finish?
listen.
Can I
He's
finish? He's concerned about
they're
the
taking the point, they're
culture
extending
and the
the point.
way of life which African people were living and teaching. I think when I'm getting him that Arab came with this new idea and said, you
He doesn't even care about Arabs.
No,
He's been
no,
taught Askia is a black
Yeah.
Muslim.
He understood what
Yeah.
you're saying.
when I
you know.
get from him that he says Arabs came and told the Africans, you're wrong in this, do it like this and you will be a better person. Am I getting this from you or not?
Which they did.
More than better person. Yeah.
Which
So,
they did.
My point is he's forgetting that the same message Islam gave to
He
Arabs.
understood
But actually,
this.
what I'm saying is,
So what's
from
the
us,
problem?
No, the
Mohammed, from
point-
us, yeah, we
Yeah.
understand it. Let me just, from us, we
you
understand
come
that. As an Afrocentric, who's not a Muslim, who doesn't see Islam to be the haq, the truth, and whatever, he's not concerned about how that affected Arabians. He's only concerned about how the African spiritual systems were denigrated. He don't care about what they're doing in Hind.
But
He's
you know,
concerned
beyond that though, yeah, I think like if somebody came from among Africans, with a new spiritual whatever that is based upon the culture of the people, but takes it, but you know what I'm saying, doesn't
You
reject
like
certain other
the
aspects.
Dinka
right?
with monotheism?
Imposing
Imposing it on the Yoruba, imposing it upon the Yoruba by force.
No, but that's the point. Well, let's come back to this point, right? Because I noticed that my Muslim brothers and sisters do this. I was listening to Sheikh Hakeem quick the other day, right? I rewatched something that I watched years ago.
Regarding slavery,
right?
yeah.
Right. And he makes this point about monotheism being in Africa from ancient times, and he quotes Ptah Hotep, which is he's known as the person who the oldest book in known in creation. Yeah, it's a book of philosophy, morals, values, governance, and the kind of things there. And he quotes Ptah Hotep, reciting a praise to the Creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and cites this as the idea that monotheism existed in Africa, long time. But Ptah was dealing with the indigenous spiritual system. Like he wasn't non-indigenous in terms of his
But
spiritual
was he
focus.
wrong about monotheism and Akhenatans and such people?
He didn't mention Akhenaten.
Oh, okay, but was he wrong about No.
Wait, but
his-
was it-
his-
And-
no,
and I-
wait,
and yes,
his-
monotheism
wait,
out of play
exactly.
on the
His
ground
general
anyway.
point about monotheism, was he wrong?
No. I'm saying that from my perspective, monotheism or polytheism is not a debate in Asian Africa. I've not come across it. I've not come across a debate about whether there are many gods or one God. Yeah? Because the concept of God, that we had, is not reliant upon many or one. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It would have been outside of the concern or the consciousness to have that as a concern.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the universe is a oneness. So the idea of there being one or many it's not a concern.
Yes.
So, right? So I'm saying that. So when we talk about Akhenaten,
Yes.
I think many people are misinterpreting history when they place Akhenaten as the beginning of monotheism in Africa. Akhenaten was not concerned with monotheism. Yeah, the deity that he elevated was one that was already existing among the people. There was a shrine and a temple to Aten a long time.
That doesn't negate monotheism, though.
I'm not saying it negates monotheism. What I'm saying is, Akhenaten comes. He says, you know what? And his thing was political as well. He had an issue with the political structure, and because the political structure was heavily tied to the temples, he wanted to dismantle. And he didn't do this immediately, but he began to elevate the temples associated with Aten, and that began to disturb the social order of the rest of the temples and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's all it was. There's no way in Akhenaten that you read there are not many gods. There's only one, and what's it called?
Was that not
There's no God but Aten, and I am his messenger. You're not going to get that in Akhenaten. It's not going to happen, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make. Now when it comes to, but again, Uncle, it matters not because because the Abrahamites that came didn't take the time to differentiate between which is monotheistic among us and which is not.
Right.
They didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, they saw everything as pagan, heathen, and savage,
Except
and barbaric.
Except
No, but you have to-
But the Ethiopians,
Ethiopians.
like the Nubians before them,
Abrahamists.
had accepted Christianity. So that's why they got a bit of a blight.
Brother, I'm a Kush.
Are you?
I'm Kush. You
Yes.
understand? We never accept Christianity. The people who accept Christianity, it's Amhara and Tigray, not us.
The Oromo?
Yeah, but they're Kush as well.
Yeah, they're part of
Oromo,
Kush.
they're all Kush.
Oromo 5%, and they push
No,
to
I
be
know, no,
Christian.
I know
Yeah,
that.
they push to
I
be
know that.
Christian.
Shout out to the Oromo
They
because they
believe
held
in
on
one
to the
God,
thing.
though.
Yeah.
They believe in one God.
But
Yeah,
you
you
know
understand?
what you didn't know
Yeah,
here?
no, but Shaka, you're right though. Their belief.
Igbo, it's God, one. One. That's,
You see that?
Yeah,
You see that?
Yeah, we always.
Bro,
They
they're-
don't know like that.
But
They
the
don't
Akan,
follow
but the
that.
Akan will tell you that Nyankopong
But I
is
hear
one.
a lot
The-
here.
Yeah, but they don't have
the
any other-
Yoruba, hold on.
They
The
stop-
Yoruba
they
will
stop
tell
Yoruba,
you
right?
that Eledumare is one.
Shaka,
The
I'm
Zulu
with-
will
I'm-
tell
I'm
you
with
that
you on that one.
Nkulunkulu is one.
The monotheism was inconsequential anyway
Nzambe is one.
because you're right. It was inconsequential anyway, insofar as it was not Islam, it was not the truth, and you had
That's it.
to submit to Islam. So that's not a point. I don't think we should.
No,
spend
my
too long
point
on
is
that
about the
point.
plurality of African cosmology. Let me give
From
you
an Afrocentric
What I'm
perspective,
saying
that's
is
not a
this.
problem.
What I'm saying is it never became a problem
Uncle.
because the Yoruba Empire never expanded to be
Uncle.
let me land. The Yoruba Empire of Oyo never expanded to become contiguous with the Oromo. If they became contiguous with the Oromo and they said, look at our empire is so powerful now, they should have one religion,
Yeah.
they would have tried to impose Ifa on their people and they would have resisted
All
and said
right.
we believe in
Let's-
one
let's say
God.
you're correct.
The matter is this: the African
Now,
religion. Let me give you. Let me break this down and put it to bed. African religion was local, and that's why Islam defeated it.
Yes.
Islam defeated African religion because African religion had no relevance beyond a certain boundary.
And
The
who
Yoruba
made the
were beginning to develop that because they were an urban
You know who helped the
civilization.
Christianity in the East
The
Africa-
Yoruba
in
were
the
beginning to develop that.
Alexander,
Other
when he conquered Egypt.
Yeah, wait. Forget
That's
about
all-
him, Alexander. That's white people.
But we have
Forget
to-
about
we
that.
have to- we
Them
have
is
to-
Greeks and
but
stuff.
we have to subject here your
No,
research
no,
surgeon.
no, I'm not
historical
finished yet. I'm not
analysis.
done. I'm not done. And you guys were having a fair crack. Give me a fair crack now. Now, listen to this. If you look at Europe
Yes.
and the way Christianity spread in Europe, In some parts, it spread by force. Charlemagne spread it to the Saxons by force. He imposed Christianity on the Lombards by force. However, in many other parts of Europe, Christianity spread organically in the way it spread in Africa. Now, can we look at the Roman script, which is not a European script? It came from the Phoenicians. It came through Greek, it came Phoenician, Greek, Roman. That's what we use today in Europe. Are we to say that the Viking runes, which is what the Vikings were using before they became Christian, would we say the Vikings, the Norwegians, the Swedes and the Danes feel culturally impoverished because today they use the Roman script? The runes were not sufficient to carry a civilization. And sometimes we have to admit that. And what happened in Europe is Christianity spread. Yeah, I didn't want to have to say this because I know what he's going to say. I ain't concerned with them white people. He's going to say that. But we are concerned with the human. We are talking about human civilization. No, I was joking, but I'll get serious now. We are talking about human civilization, and we should stop existing in the realm of the fantastical of what Africa could have been. This is what Africa is. Islam, it owes a great debt to Islamic civilization and culture. Islamic civilization and culture, as we both agreed, also did a lot of wrong things in Africa. We agree with that. But what I am not getting from Afrocentrics is our due, that we also left a legacy of tremendous civilizations without which, if you talk about Africa, without them, you leave a black hole in the middle of it. You can't do that.
You're asking for a due, uncle, yeah? That Muslims do not give to Africa when it comes to civilization.
No, Afrocentrics, the Hoteps.
Yeah.
When I hear their comments.
But I'm saying that even many Africans in Islam do not give to Africa. So my point is that you're talking about
it's organic. Once the religion is
the
there.
Afrocentric criticism of Islam and Muslims is predicated upon the attack against African culture committed by Muslims. So if we want to...
Where is the Eurocentric... Wait a minute. Where's the Eurocentric attack on the Christian church in Europe? Where is it?
That's for them to deal with.
No. We're talking about Abrahamic faith.
Said hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you.
I knew you did. The reason I didn't bring this up before is because I knew he would sideline it by doing that.
Uncle, it's a different subject.
You've got to deal with it.
And to be quite frank, Uncle,
it's Abrahamic faith.
If the Celts,
Europe isn't doing badly. What is Abrahamic faith?
Uncle, if the Celts today said, you know what?
The Druids and things.
Before the Romans
came, them still.
we were dealing with some next thing here. Can we revive this thing here?
Yes.
I support them in their thing.
Yes.
But I'm not going to get involved. That's for them business.
Yes.
I'm doing for business right now.
You know why it failed?
Hold on.
You know why it failed? You know why Druidism failed? It's the same. I'm making a... This police on this guy a lot. What's going on? Why is he pointing at us?
It's probably a mental health thing.
Because they've been with him for a while. Okay. For a while they've been with this dude. He tried to join our conversation. That's why I said block him out. No, he can't even weird.
What is the
Druids? No, I want to make a comparison. The comparison is this. Druidism, like many African religions, barring Vodou, Manua, Ifa, were not compatible with large empire building. They were religions that were localized
to the
local culture.
We have to subject this claim
That's a
to
fact.
historical analysis.
Otherwise, Islam could never have made the case. Islam was an overarching religion.
Uncle, we have to subject this claim to a historical analysis.
Let's do it now.
Right.
I got time to get there.
To say that it was localized and therefore incapable, because what I'm saying, right?
Village religions.
No, but you can say that what we call a village religion is really the lack of an expansionist tendency among the faithful. That's all it really is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It is. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
No, it's not.
I'll tell you why.
It's people who are so comfortable. No, let me tell you. People who are so comfortable with what they got, they never bother to expand.
No, Uncle.
If you live in a culture,
that's not the case.
If you live in the ice people and the sand people, need to expand.
No, that's not the case because Ouagadougou incorporated many city-states. Yeah, and not everybody.
And eventually Islam took it over.
But not everybody in Ouagadougou Empire was practicing the same individual spiritual system.
Give me a negative some.
Right?
You want to
No, we
cite
don't.
some now?
We-
Cite
we-
some.
we-
Give me some.
we don't.
No, I give citations.
Hold on, Uncle.
Give me some
Uncle,
citations.
But you and I both know that the information.
Because I'm going to research them. I want to research
Yeah, that's
them.
fine. No, but I'm saying the information that in regards to Ouagadougou,
Yeah.
there are a lot of there's a lot of things that we don't know. Yeah.
But then how can you
based
make
upon-
claims?
Because we know, for example, Uncle, to say that I can't name you a specific.
No,
Hear what I'm
because
saying?
here's what I'm going to hit you
Hear
with.
what I'm saying?
No, I'm planning for you. I'm planning for you.
let-
I was going to tell you the
no,
sources
Uncle,
are in
Uncle,
Arabic.
Uncle, no,
The
no.
sources for what?
Yes, now.
I was planning.
Yeah, no, I know this. That's the point.
I was set.
But that's what I was going to say. I know that. But I was going to say there is because Ouagadougou was not a system that wrote history literally. So there's a lot of information that we don't know. A lot of people that study Ouagadougou,
None of it was preserved orally.
a lot of it was. That's the point I'm trying to make.
How can you
But I'm
tell,
saying,
though?
but
How
I'm
can you
saying,
tell?
there are ways to treat oral histories.
I think we need
But
to
it's too,
define
it's too
there are
far
ways-
back. It's
No,
10th
I-
century.
no,
It's 11th century.
No, it's
Define
only too far back.
civilization.
Uncle, with all due respect,
Oral.
one of the things that
11th century?
one of the things,
Oral?
one of the things,
Really?
one of the things that I find with my Muslim brothers and sisters,
We don't like oral traditions.
except for when it validates Islam. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's it called? Right?
Yes, that we love.
Except for when it's hadith. Yeah, then
Yes,
everybody loves
that we love.
oral tradition. Right.
I have a
However,
problem
Uncle,
with a lot of hadith.
right,
Nah,
right.
I love
But-
Personally,
but what I'm
I
saying,
got Muslims who
but
hate me
Uncle,
for that.
beyond that, what I'm saying is, yeah, we know, for example, the Soninke people
Yep.
were at the heart of Ouagadougou
Yeah,
Empire.
yeah.
The Mande people were at the heart of Ouagadougou
Yeah,
Empire.
yeah.
So I'm saying that
Were there Muslims amongst them?
the latter part,
Right.
yeah, right. What's it called? Because Ouagadougou, we're talking about before even Islam. This is like,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What's it called? Yeah. So I'm saying
Ninth
that. So
century.
the descendants of those people who have preserved their tradition, we can look at those traditions, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Do we know who they are?
Well,
The Sunni, all of the Soninke today are Muslim. All the Soninke. So,
no, not necessarily because.
so how can we find where these traditions are?
Because I'm saying that there are people groups that are evolved from the Soninke.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But he's
Are we
not-
sure? Which ones?
Some of them,
Can we know? How can we tell?
and some of them we don't quite know. But the point is that if the people them are there, yeah.
Yeah, but you're making claims that we not that can't be
No,
substantiated.
I'm not making claims.
No. This is Songhai. Sorry, this is Ouagadougou.
Let me ask a question.
These are Soninke.
Let me ask a question.
Today, these are two Soninke
Let me
standing.
ask
They're
a
all
question.
Muslims now.
me ask
How
a
can we
question.
tell what their indigenous tradition was?
let me ask a question.
It's not like he's still worshipping the Ouagadougou tradition and he's a Muslim. They're both Muslim now.
Let me ask you a question.
How can we tell?
After Ghana, it was Mali.
Yes.
The ruling class in Mali
Yep.
is Muslim,
Manding people, yeah.
right? Was Muslim.
Yep.
There are many people in the empire
Right.
who are not Muslim.
Right.
Are all those traditionalists practicing one spiritual system?
How can
Are
we
they
tell?
from the? I'm asking you a question. Are they?
How can we tell? No, how can we tell?
What do you mean,
How
how
can
can
we
we
know
tell?
this?
Because
we have to rely on the
because-
written
because
record
we know-
of the 11th and
because we
13th
know-
century.
Because we know, for example, yeah, that there are Mali and Songhai took
Yep.
up vast areas of land. All of the people that it took up and have not disappeared. Some of them have held on to their traditions.
Right, like the
so
Dogon?
for example, but the point I'm making is, but the
Do
point
we know if the Dogon as an
Uncle,
ethnicity
Uncle,
existed
that's
then?
the point I'm trying to make. Let me finish. Let me finish. So we can see, so there are groups that formulate after the breakdown of an empire. A new group may form that preserves the culture or a tradition, but they may not have been known by the same name under the empire.
Would it
or,
have been preserved in the same
or 200
form?
years. No,
Would it remain
everything
sta-
evolves.
would it remain static?
Everything, but
So that is not the same
but
thing.
Nobody argued. No.
So it's not the same
An
thing.
evolution.
So Africans could evolve into
Uncle,
Muslims too.
Uncle,
so Africans could
Uncle.
evolve into Muslims too. That could happen. And indigenize a religion.
But you're making an argument.
Yeah.
That you have to validate.
You seem to be
Under-
implying
under
that
the-
evolution can only take place
No,
in
the
situ.
only- no, at the
only the
moment-
people
at the
there
moment- at the
living
moment-
there can evolve.
At the moment, what I'm implying.
Evolution cannot
and I'm not
by
even implying.
external
I'm saying it.
ideas?
What
Cannot evolution occur by external ideas?
Of course it can.
Islam.
Yeah,
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam.
All right, let's that's
Islam.
the case.
Islam.
But if the Muslim brother and sister
Yeah.
is going to critique the Afrocentric
And put them down.
in relation
wrong.
to their appreciation or critique of Islam,
Yeah.
then the Muslim brother and sister has to contend with the truth of what the Afrocentric is saying.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is,
Yes, I
however
agree with
one
you.
wants to say
Yes.
that Islam
Arrived.
arrived and expanded in Africa.
It looks down on African religions.
And that is what
It's
the
true.
Afrocentric
That's a
is
point.
defending.
It's incontestable.
Right? That's what the
you're
Afrocentric
right.
is defending.
But you're
we
correct
cannot-
about that.
So
You're
the
correct
point is,
about that.
so it's not, but the Afrocentric is not motivated by a hatred of Islam. The
Yes, he
Afrocentric,
is.
no, it's
The
not.
Hoteps,
No.
not you. The Hoteps.
No.
Yes, they are.
Shaka.
No,
I know
the
them.
Afrocentric.
Those Hoteps.
No,
You cannot
the
dismiss that
Afrocentric-
sentiment.
The language
that
they-
sentiment
the
amongst-
language they
amongst
use.
The
Afrocentric.
Afrocentric
language they
is
use.
motivated by a defense of Africa
My young
and
brother,
African culture.
my young brother,
Yeah?
defend the good. As an Afrocentrist myself, I would defend the good that they do.
you
When
think
their
it-
critiques, their critiques are nasty. I'm telling you, it's
Shut up.
what they
Are
say
they-
is
are they-
nasty.
But you could describe the Afrocentric critics of Islam as nasty,
Yeah.
but the Muslim critics, of African spirituality and culture, were they any more
bro,
accommodating?
you say that.
Can I
and
say
I'll
something?
pull you up on that
Yeah, go
one.
on.
You
No,
say,
they're
you say
personal.
African
Those are
spirituality
personal.
Yes.
and culture.
Yes.
Yeah, the two
Yes.
things are they're separate, although spirituality can fall into the culture.
Of course.
It's specifically, from my belief, anyway, if you can correct me,
Yes.
it's the spirituality, the part that's been denigrated,
All right.
not the culture. So when you keep saying the culture of the people,
They look down on the culture too.
I get this. I get the distinction that you're making. I don't.
They look down on the culture
Yeah, I
too.
don't agree with the distinction that you're
The
making.
Dinka were naked.
But-
They'll say the people are low.
Right,
They're low.
right.
They'll say they're low.
And the point I'm making is that from an Afrocentric
what,
point
the
of
people
view,
embraced Islam and said them about themselves.
No,
that
the
they're low?
Dinka were naked.
No, what
people.
happens
The
is-
Dinka were.
right.
Let me explain this.
Yeah.
Because I have Dinka friends who listen to this, and I don't want to insult my friends. The Dinka in the cattle camps walk completely naked. They do believe in one God. They don't represent God.
Tawheed.
They believe in Tawheed.
Tawheed.
They don't believe in Prophet Muhammad.
Naked Tawheed.
No, they don't believe in Prophet. But they are butt naked. Of course,
Everything.
man.
But if it's
Hollywood swing.
the men are the women with
Yeah,
the
the
women.
women
Islam
never a
criticize
problem.
that, do you have a problem?
No, let me land.
Yeah,
Hey, listen.
of course, yes.
I can't stop there.
But there were people
brother, wait,
naked
brother, wait.
around the Kaaba
Bro-
and Islam criticized
No,
it.
but see, y'all going wrong. I'm trying to make a point here because people are listening to this. Now look, the Ottoman Turks moved up the Nile Valley. They saw these naked people, and they said that these people are enslavable. Let us enslave. We can no longer. We've lost the war with the Russians. We can no longer take white slaves from the Caucasus. That is where they used to get. The Ottomans used to get the majority of slaves from white people, from the Caucasus. When they lost the war to the expanding Russian Empire, it was Ivan the Terrible who defeated them. They had to concentrate, later than Ivan the Terrible, they had to concentrate their slave raiding efforts up the Nile through Egypt under Muhammad Ali Pasha's son Ismail Pasha. When they went up the Nile, they saw some of these Africans completely naked. They said, so even before they got to the Dinka, the Nuba and Kordofan were also like this. They decided the people were enslavable, and they started enslaving those people. They had guns, they had muskets, they had European weapon artillery. And to me, that is completely, there's no justification at all whatsoever in the name of Islam for that sort of behavior. I distance myself and I condemn that kind of behavior because as far as they're concerned, you see the breakup of the Sudan today, the breakup of Sudan to the north and south, is partly because of that lingering, festering attitude that these people in the south are inferior.
You know what it is, Uncle? Yeah.
Muslims shouldn't behave like that.
But this is the point I'm trying to make. It's in a sense now, if you're dealing with a people who have been through centuries of invasion and colonization, and you're looking back in retrospect at that history, and you're saying, well, we look upon our own history and culture as lesser than, and there are certain blockages, yes, that between us being able to appreciate that history and not appreciate that history. And one of those blockages is religion. And that religion is not just Christianity. Yeah? Islam plays a role in that process as well. And so we have to now undo the conditioning that comes with that in order to appreciate what we had prior to these religions. And the Afrocentric is saying, well, let us do that then. Is how they characterize our traditions the truth? Let's start with that. And oftentimes, we find that it's not necessarily the truth. Africans worship trees. Africans worship the sun. You know what I'm saying, on all these kinds of things. And we actually delve into the system, it's far more complex than that. There's far more, and this is the point I'm trying to make, because I'm saying that if you look into the tradition, it's not as simple as the man doesn't see the tree as God. Because if the tree is God, then this tree is God, that tree is God, which one is God? So there's something beyond just a tree.
Yeah, you're asking problematic questions then, which should be leveled at. Yeah, my kinsfolk who still do or still have remnants of those practices till now.
But this is the point I'm trying to make. From the Afrocentric point of view, there's nothing wrong with the practice. From the Muslim point of view, there is something wrong with the practice.
Here's my problem with him. Here's my problem with brother Mbandaka.
I'm hearing that when Islam came to Africa, Islam criticized.
It did more. He's saying it did more.
I'm getting. But he's forgetting, my brother, that Islam went to Asia, wherever it
He's
went,
not interested in that.
Critiqued the culture didn't go with the Tawheed and with the way of the Prophet.
Yeah.
You're forgetting, you're forgetting.
The point the brother's making.
No,
The point the brother's making is not specific.
But you're talking the same thing.
I know what's going on.
Let me address it.
The point is not specific to Africa.
Let me address the point.
It's not just Africa.
He knows this.
Let me address the point. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, yeah.
He knows.
Sorry. First of all,
he knows
what you may not be aware of is that this conversation comes about because I heard a conversation between Uncle Danjuma, brother Eesa, brother Zack, and a couple of other
And
brothers.
I was saying that the Afrocentrics are trying to excise the black Muslims from the Pan-Africanist family. And I condemn, I am totally against this because many of the early 60s nationalists, Pan-Africanists, and Afrocentrics were Muslims like Malcolm X. That's what I said.
The lack of nuance as well used.
That's what I said.
And I think that where there is lack of nuance, that is worth your critique. But what you're, that's the context that you're missing. So
that's how we started.
Everywhere else that things took place, nobody's denying that. What I'm defending is the Afrocentric position on these issues. Right. So now what I'm saying
it is a good defense.
Right.
I understand.
And I appreciate that.
I understand what you're saying.
Right?
If I were an Afrocentrist, because I like to put, I'll tell you why.
Yes.
In Trinidad, where I come from,
Yes.
we're a minority.
Yes.
We are only 10% of the population.
Yes.
And up to recently, we had it damn good. I cannot deceive you. We had it good until Yasir Abubakar decided to take over the country with the military coup in 1990. Right? So now we are being persecuted in Trinidad. However,
Yes.
I do remember in Trinidad, as a boy, large villages of people called Abdullah, Muhammad, Ali, who are Presbyterian Christians because the Canadian missions came down and converted them. No, I don't have a beef with it because I understand what you're saying. It was an unequal transaction of these Canadian missions, Presbyterians. They came and converted these Trinidadian villages to Christianity from Islam. And they made them an offer they can't refuse in terms of money, school books, education, advance, things like that. I understand, but I don't beef with it too much because to me it wasn't force. It wasn't force. However, you have to understand that Muslims have been on the receiving end of this as well. Many, many times. I didn't experience it in Trinidad at my time, but it happened before my time. We had an archbishop called Clive Abdullah, because his parents were Muslims and they were converted. Now, I am saying to you, this has happened to Muslims in South Africa, the Cape Town Muslims.
I put it to you, Uncle, that in a country that is Muslim, that is considered a Muslim country.
Yeah.
Yeah. If another group of people came in and took the people away from Islam, yeah, but left them with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence, computer technology, yeah, right. That Muslims around in the Ummah would not consider it to have been to their benefit, to have gained state-of-the-art artificial intelligence technology, yeah, but lost Islam.
But
right?
why though?
So here I'm saying, so that it doesn't make sense to me to give the argument, therefore, that we've lost our culture, our tradition, but we've got writing and scholarship.
What was your culture?
That's why I keep saying the use of the
But you
word
know what it is? Do you know what it is?
I'll tell you
No,
what
you're asking a good question.
You know what I'm
But
trying
you're
to
asking
say?
a question. But you know
You
you're
know-
asking a question.
you know what I'm trying to say?
This is a beautiful question. You know why? Because there are some things that I might know, and there are some things that I don't know.
Yeah.
But let me give you a brilliant example of this. Yeah. In fact, I'll give you two examples of this. The first one is ancient Kemet.
Right.
Yeah. Now, get come back.
Muslims conquered ancient Kemet.
Hold on.
These two civilizations never met.
Are you gonna let me finish?
But don't bring up ancient Kemet.
No, but I have to.
You're gonna confuse people again. You got a lot of foolish people listening to you. You're gonna confuse them. Ancient Kemet died long before Islam was ever thought of. They never met in history.
You know what I'm gonna say, Uncle?
Muslims met ancient Kemet as a tomb. Go ahead.
Right. I'm gonna use your example now. That you and I said it's an unfair comparison.
Right.
Yeah? Uncle, you said
Yes.
that we Muslims
Yes.
can read the Arabic.
Yes.
Yeah, first hand.
It's great, isn't it?
We know the Arabic.
Wonderful stuff.
And you people that deal
You
with Kemet
can't read it, man.
can't read it.
You can't read that thing.
Right.
Go on with.
Right, now,
Sure.
let's deal with that. Let's deal with that.
I love my brothers. I love my brothers.
Let's do it, right? Let's do it. The Medjugorje
Yes.
is a language derived from the first language known, documented
Good.
in human history.
Good. Yes,
That
yes.
civilization lasted for over 3,000 years. Right? Successive invasions came into that land
Yes.
and degraded the culture over centuries. Do you know how many languages that there are in the world that are no longer spoken today, that are considered dead languages? Because the civilization has passed.
Yep.
Yeah? Right. Now,
Meroitic script.
so Medjugorje is not unique in that regard.
Yeah.
But the
That
people...
was our beef.
No, I'm not saying it was. But the point is that in order to access those scripts, you have to reclaim a dead, quote unquote, dead language.
Rosetta Stone?
But not only a dead language.
A white man did it.
But not only a dead
A
language.
white man did it.
Not only a dead,
Rosetta Stone
but not only a dead language, a language from a civilization
to the Coptic.
that has been denigrated
Yes.
throughout history.
Ancient Egypt was
From
never
a-
really denigrated.
from a-
Ancient Egypt was never denigrated. There was always respect. The Arabs had respect for ancient Egypt.
I said
You have read the book by Okasha?
I said a
You read the book by
civilization.
Okasha
Uncle,
Daily?
hear what I said,
The
yeah.
Missing Millennium?
Uncle, hear what I
The
said.
Arabs always had respect for it.
Hear what I said.
And the white people had respect
Hear
for
what
it.
I said, Uncle.
Ancient Egypt wasn't
I
put
said-
into that
I said the
because,
culture-
because they thought it was white,
I
actually.
said exactly. I said a culture.
They thought it was
I said a
white.
culture and a civilization that has been denigrated.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, yes, you can't. Like you're saying, they couldn't deny. We couldn't deny
they thought it was
Mali
white,
and
huh?
Songhai. They did,
Yeah.
but they went there. They
Yeah.
couldn't
Oh.
deny Harem Akit, Tekken,
Yep.
Pyramid.
Yep.
They couldn't deny it,
Yep.
so they tried to remove it from Africa
They Caucasianized it.
and make it white. But the point is that when now the Africans started to come
Yep.
and delve into it, and Diop did
Yep.
the work,
Yep.
I said this was a black
right.
civilization. What we had to do now in order to access was actually learn to decipher the script. Muslims are not burdened with that responsibility. Yeah, hold on. So we have a
The
challenge.
Missing Millennium.
We have
I
a
must
challenge.
lend you a book called The Missing Millennium
What's your point?
by Professor Okasha Daily.
Are you saying to me?
Shall I tell you
that-
something?
Are you saying
it's
to me
recently been discovered that
are you-
Muslims were deciphering the Medjugorje before the Europeans did the Rosetta Stone.
That may
Recently
well be the
discovered.
case, but the point is, Uncle,
I'll bring you the book.
are you suggesting to me that the burden in
The
terms of
Missing Millennium by Professor Okasha Daily shows that the Medjugorje had been deciphered by Muslims long before the Europeans deciphered the Rosetta Stone. Carry on.
it's not it wouldn't be completely surprising
they
based
did
upon
actually.
based
I'll
upon
get the book to you.
based upon the valorization
They had respect.
among the Muslims,
But
among the Arabs.
they never believed they were white.
Partly,
the Arabs never believed the Egyptians were white.
But I'm saying that the Greeks had intensive
They
interaction
knew Moses was
with
black.
the people of Kemet, and the Arabs had a great respect for Greek civilization.
Yes.
Right. So it doesn't. It's not completely beyond the pale of possibility.
More the Persians than the Arabs.
No, but they knew Moses was black. Eh?
But my point is that those are people that
The
all came.
Arabs
that all
always
came
believed
in the-
Moses was black.
Yeah.
They believed that.
Uncle,
No,
these are
no,
different
let me just
subjects,
say. The Arabs always believed Moses was dark-skinned. They believed he grew up in Egypt among people who were dark-skinned. The prophet said that Hajar, the mother of Ismail, those are his people, and he referred to them, these are the people.
Yeah.
So Moses came from a dark-skinned people because Moses is described as dark-skinned,
Yes.
and those are his people. So
problem with that.
they never valorized the ancient Egyptians because they were white. The Europeans did that.
I'm not saying
that's what
no.
Europeans
That's not
did.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in terms of the destruction, after constant invasion, the destruction of Nile Valley
Ancient,
civilization means that those of us Afrocentric scholars, who get involved in that, have a burden to discover a lot of what was lost, a lot of what was destroyed by the successive invaders that came into that land. When you're talking about Arabic as a language, you don't have that burden. And there are many people big up Elder Ruketi Amen and others who are teaching the Medjugorje. There are more Medjugorje scholars now among black people than there's ever been. So whilst I'm taking
To which
that,
I reply,
whilst I'm
to
taking
which
that,
I reply-
hold on a second. Whilst I'm taking that look of ridicule now, I promise you, if you're alive in 100 years, and I pray you are,
Subhanallah.
yeah, I pray you are.
I'll be seen out like
indeed,
a rock.
indeed. Right? I'll still come and find you. I'm going to find you wherever you are, and I'm going to bring you.
Who are
I'm going to
you?
bring you an army
Who are
of
you
people that
again?
speak the Medjugorje. Exactly.
All right, but
Right?
here's what. The basis of that Medjugorje is Wallace, Burgeon, Champollion, and these white people.
Because they were the white people, Uncle.
here's me,
To this
here's
day,
me. No, here's
to this
me.
day, but Uncle, let's be fair. To this day,
Yeah.
the people that have the most resources to do any kind of scholarship, practically anywhere
No,
in the
but
world,
that's beside the
are
point.
Europeans.
No, that's beside the point.
archaeologists and
The
all kinds of
the
disciplines.
basis of your intellectual scholarship
However,
is white.
however,
That's my basis. And here's what. Here's me. No, you forgot
You're
the other
being
beef.
very unfair
no,
right now.
you forgot the other beef.
You're being very
You're
unfair.
I'm always
You're being-
I
yeah, you're
always
being
have-
very
When have
unfair.
I ever been fair?
No, you're being very
Right?
unfair.
Listen, the other beef,
Right?
no, my
You're
other
being very
beef
unfair.
is, let me get the last beef before I go come
Yes.
back. The
Yes.
last beef was, because he mentioned the beeves, plural of beef is beeves. Beeves. Yeah, the last beef we had was, I was saying to him, the attacks by the Hoteps on us seem to be their inability to confront white supremacy. So Doppy no for frightened and monkey no way treat the
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I agree with it.
I disagree with that.
I maintain it.
I'll tell you why.
The Hoteps can't fight
I'll tell
white
you why. I'll tell you why.
They can't fight
I'll
white
tell you why.
people.
But I'll tell you
They're
why.
scared of white
No,
people.
but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Back down from white people.
Yeah, but you can't make that claim
we are soft
because it was
targets.
Diop
We are
who
soft
went in
targets.
1974 to the Cairo
He ain't a
Symposium.
Hotep.
No,
He's not
no,
a Hotep.
No,
He's a scholar.
No, he's a
He's a scholar.
You know what I'm saying? Diop,
You're man, you're white lady, you know.
Diop,
You're man,
I
white lady.
know. Diop, right? Well, there's
my boy.
Afrocentricity.
Diop is my boy.
And there's what I will refer to as
Diop, check
proto-Afrocentricity.
under Diop.
Diop is one of the main scholars,
under
probably
Diop.
the main
Yes,
scholar
I am.
that inspires the development of African
Yes.
scholarship tradition. Even the person who coined the term Afrocentricity said that in terms of the traditions that make up, that inform Afrocentricity is Diop, historiography, what is called Kawaida theory, which is Maulana Karenga, the man who invented Kwanzaa. Garvey's, he's on. Garvey's black nationalism, and he said, and somebody, Mamba Amma added France Fanon, from up in Algeria, right? So, right. But I'm saying that Uncle knows better than the statement that he's making, because he would know very well the
talk
battles
sound.
that Afrocentric historians have had with mainstream Eurocentric scholarship over the years.
Yeah, but
right?
them
It's been consistent.
Them
right?
done.
No.
That generation don't. This now generation
No,
don't do that.
No, but you can't say. But you can't
And
make
I'm
the
not
claim.
talking about scholars.
But you can't
You
make the
know
claim.
we weren't talking about
But
scholars.
you can't
I'm
make the
talking
claim.
about Hoteps.
But you can't make the claim. No.
Why do you
no,
talk
but,
about scholars?
but no, but
You knew I was
no,
talking
no,
about
no.
Hoteps.
But what you said about no, but you
Spot
no,
of intellectual
no,
dishonesty
no,
creeping
no,
in there.
you can't say that. You can't say that. You know why?
We give you my
we didn't
inscrutable
intend
look.
the scholarly
We were,
few.
no,
We
we were
intended the
talking.
general mass
Yeah,
and
we
the
were
people that-
talking about attacks. The
But
people who
what you
attacking
said,
us.
okay, but the claim
Not
that you made,
Job and man like
but the
Job.
claim that
You-
you made though was
Yep.
the being afraid to confront white
Yeah,
supremacy.
this youngster can't
But
do it.
the same people that we're talking about are no more friendly towards Christianity in Europe than they are and in Africa.
You don't get those
Right,
attacks
that they-
at all.
Of course.
You do not.
Of course.
Let me tell you what. That was in
There
my
are-
time. That was in the 70s.
If you think Muslims get it bad from
Nah,
Afrocentrics,
they don't.
of course.
In fact,
I've
they-
not seen it.
In fact, they don't even attack white people.
I've not seen the
They
same
don't
energy.
attack white
that is
supremacy
speaking
at
from this
all.
park.
They're scared of white supremacy.
Speaking from this park and
You
what I
know-
see online,
They're
I've not
really
seen the
scared
same
of white
energy for
supremacy.
Islam.
Speaker's Corner is a bad example.
Right.
One, because
Online?
there are very few actual Afrocentrics here. The dominant scene is Muslim, yeah, and the
You
majority of
say
people
there's
are
very
Muslim.
few. No, remember
There's very few Afrocentrics
What
here, bro.
2016 was the clash that saw. Yeah, the
there-
brothers that entered
fam,
the park.
There's
yeah,
me.
and the
there was.
right.
I wasn't even here them time there.
Right, so
So
I'm
really,
saying-
we're dealing with Kalam and
Gabriel.
and
Yeah.
I don't know who Gabriel is.
Gabs.
Gabs.
Yeah.
And Sarah.
Yeah.
That's about it,
Okay.
right? There's nothing to compare. My point is that when you're talking about, because a lot of this Afrocentric scholarship, they're not just dealing with Islam, they're dealing with Abrahamic religions, right? Just what I'm saying, coming out. So and in Islam in that context. So there's no special thing there's no special animosity
No.
towards Islam.
No.
In that regard.
No, it's the weakest link. They're weak and they're attacking weak people. They think
Uncle,
we're weak.
but Uncle,
They can't
Uncle,
attack.
but that's not-
The white supremacy is too powerful
I'm
for
saying
them.
you-
I know.
You ever watch Arnetta?
I watch them.
You ever watch Arnetta? You ever watch
Nah,
Arnetta?
not really,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. There's debates going on right now among Kemetics, as they call it, and Christians about whether Christianity is the white man's religion. And the Christian brothers and sisters are saying
Is
that
Christians or Israelites? Or Hebrew?
Christians,
Right,
actual
right.
Christians.
Trinitarians.
And yes.
Yeah.
And the Christian brothers and sisters are saying exactly what Uncle Danjuma is saying about the Afrocentrics in relation to Christianity. You lot are denying this. And the same arguments that you're giving in relation to Islam in Africa, they're giving the same arguments about Christianity in Africa and giving you Ethiopia and Nubia
and Nubia, that's all.
and
Where else?
North Africa,
North?
Carthage, and all of these things. They're giving the same arguments. So there is no particular thing that the man have for Islam. It's just that when it gets, obviously, when it comes to Islam, the Muslim are gonna feel it.
No.
That's all
But
it is.
I'm saying,
No,
even with
they're gonna beef
Sarnetta,
with us.
the percentage of his material, which is like not focusing on Afrocentricity,
They light. Those scholars
focusing
light.
on Islam and Christianity.
Yeah.
Who gets it the most? Are you telling me?
Who gets
Are
it
you
the
telling me the
most?
heat is equally shared amongst
Nah,
Abrahamics?
they have a thing on the Muslim. They got a thing with Muslims.
And the Hebrews as well. The Hebrew, there are periods of time where it depends. And as well, in America, you got different kinds of Muslims as well.
No, they know the
Right?
Hebrew
What's it called?
scholarship is weak.
No,
They
no,
know
no,
it. Hebrew
we're
scholarship
asking,
is weak.
but he's asked the question who gets it the most. I'm
Yeah.
saying that I can't really make arguments that Muslims get it the most.
I am maintaining the Hoteps attack whom they perceive to be weaker targets. They think Islam is weak because the guy who
doesn't
comes on Sarnetta is weak. That Muslim guy,
But, Uncle,
that British guy,
but that
he's
wouldn't make any
weak.
sense. There are more professed Muslims
Yep.
than there are professed Afrocentric people.
Okay,
To this
so
day,
by virtue of numbers, then.
not by virtue of numbers. There is no state in the world that runs an African-centered government based upon valorizing any African
Yeah.
spiritual system.
Wait,
None
Benin,
whatsoever. No. No.
You wanna go home.
No. Right?
And
No.
Haiti? No.
No. There are Benin and Haiti are examples of where African spiritual systems have more respect. Benin is probably the only African nation whereby an African spiritual system is recognized as a national religion. Yeah? Right?
It is the national religion, though.
I don't know
is
if
it
it's the national religion. I can't say that for sure.
Let me
But
go
I know
back and-
it's recognized, and they have broad public ceremonies that are, you know what I'm saying, them kind of things that is part of it.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm saying that this doesn't, and even if we take Benin, let's say Benin and Haiti are examples,
Yeah.
it doesn't compare. Right? So the point is, more to the point, there are more brothers and sisters turning to Islam as a perceived
That's stop. It's flat line. That's slowed down. It's slowed down.
Anti-West
It's slowed down.
Right.
It's slowing
religion.
down. It's slowing down.
Maybe so, but I'm
Slowing
saying
down.
that it's happening.
You mean in the black community? Black community?
Yeah.
Slowing down. It's slowing down.
If you do it in America,
Not like in my time.
if you do it in America, there's more black people in mosques than they are
Yeah, but
in
that,
Kemetic
that's
shrines.
the children of people
Yeah?
who converted in the 60s. To me, it's flatlining. That conversion to black
My
people.
point is that that the perceived weakness of Muslims in relation to because everybody's more powerful than us. Is what I'm saying from an African-centered perspective, right? So I don't think that's the case. What I'm saying is the motivation is the fact that when you look in the history, or to this day, there are places where in West Africa, the Christians and Muslims give each other credence in ways that they don't give traditionally.
But
Yeah,
you
but
say
no,
that.
but
to this day,
you say that,
In
but
Nigeria,
the same.
they fight like cat and dog.
Bro,
And they also get
Christians
married.
and
But I'm saying-
Muslims.
And they also get married.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
that
you
was
say
before
that,
that,
yeah,
before
you
the
say that.
militant
But,
thing
but
started.
when they have issues, both the man that
I'm
go
just
pray in
coming.
the masjid,
Yeah.
both the man that go to the church, go to the bushes and see the juju man.
I agree, and you get vexed, right? What's it called, right? About it, and say stuff for a lot.
Yeah.
But my point is that within the society, the standing of whereas there
You're
is
telling me the reverence is not there for the African.
just even the
Sharks, I look
respect.
in the movie, you know.
I know, Uncle.
Yeah.
I thank you for entertaining
Yes.
me. Yeah. What's it called?
What that cheek?
Yeah.
The boy cheeky, right, you know.
No, I'm being humble. I'm being humble to my
Middle,
elder.
middle.
Right? But the
Some
point-
people, you like get carried like
Yeah,
child fooling.
but that's what I'm
Make
saying.
Make it a little entertaining. speak for the people.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I do believe.
One more thing before you go. I'll give you an example of things here. You mentioned I want to just deal with this quickly. The issue of the Buck Treaty. Yeah, because
Oh God, no!
No, very
Next
quickly.
week, oh my
very quickly. I'm not gonna be long.
That's a whole new.
Because Uncle brought in the Buck Treaty. Yeah, Uncle brought in the Buck Treaty.
Not the last time we spoke.
No. You mentioned it, but you delved into it in one of your presentations.
Long before, yeah.
Right.
Can we do that another time?
I'm gonna be very quick. I promise you. 2 minutes. Yeah.
You're getting hungry.
Yeah. Right. The Buck Treaty. Yeah. This is when now the Arabs. And I was gonna ask you some questions, about because when you said.
Can you stick a pin in that one?
I'll stick a pin.
I really gotta go. But the Buck Treaty is my figure.
I'll stick a pin.
Because if I start with that Buck Treaty,
I'll stick a pin.
I ain't going to. Salam alaikum. We don't submit.
Yeah. So that's my only point, innit? Because what I was trying to get at, and I don't know if you saw my video from last week.
I've got like maybe 5-10 minutes in.
Right.
I need to watch the whole thing, the defense and
right. And that's all I was defending. So I'm saying that, well, if we're going to be balanced, we have to appreciate what the people that are defending.
Yeah.
So if you come at me with a critique about what I'm dealing with, then my defense of what I'm dealing with is going to attack your critique.
Yeah.
Just what I'm saying. That's all it is.
I understand that.
Right. Just what I'm saying. So I'm saying that he has to appreciate that. There has never been. It's one thing I didn't get to say to Uncle, well, I'll say it. The majority character of traditionalist spiritual systems in relation to all kinds of spiritual systems is accommodationist. Whether it's Christian, whether it's Muslim, right?
So you're saying that all the African spiritual, or all adherents to the spiritual systems accommodate foreign spiritual systems.
I'm saying the dominant characteristic.
Right.
So whereas when
when you say dominant, though,
so I'm saying that when Muslims come to Ghana, it's not seen as a big thing for us to allow them to build a mosque.
Right.
So when you come, you can deal with your thing.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. When Uncle was saying about he took me somewhere else and I didn't get to come back to the point. But when he talked about if it would have expanded,
so I was going to go there. If the Akan had consolidated their power in Ghana and started expanding, which some of the tribes started to do, there's an assumption there that they would not have forced their spiritual systems onto the people that they expanded into their territories.
Do you know if the Ashanti did invade and subdue neighboring groups?
Well, I know one of the tribes, specifically Danjuma.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was wars and them kind of things there.
Yeah.
Were those religious wars?
They were not religious wars. But but here, what I'm questioning, I'm very sure that when they did conquer a territory, right, they placed their spiritual system in that place and made it.
Now let's explore that.
The overall thing.
Now let's explore that. Yeah. What I'm saying is, when you look at the historical analysis of this thing, we can take it back to ancient Kemet. Ancient Kemet was actually a confederation of various different people groups that had various different religious systems.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
There was not a religious war. Or, you know what I'm saying? And more often than not, how the culture evolved was that the different religious systems were merged into a unified culture.
Right.
It's a different thing. That's organic. Different thing. It's not your God is not sufficient to the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you look at Oyo and Dahomey, they had wars, but if you were to study the spiritual systems of the Dahomey and the Yoruba, there's similarities and crossovers between them, because the Yoruba got some from the Dahomey and the Dahomey got some from the Yoruba. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that when we can make that inference, but that's why I said to Uncle, we've got to subject that assertion to historical analysis, because we don't know of it happening. It's always possible that somebody somewhere could have got, however, you know what I'm saying. The best example that you might have of that is Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu invaded enough places, subdued enough people, and said, Zulu we say. Everybody has Zulu right now, you know what I'm saying? Rare. But I would argue that even in that circumstance, the extent to which he imposed, because Shaka Zulu was not concerned with religion more than right, this what I'm saying.
Power,
it's a political thing, right? This what I'm saying. So to say, not all religions are expansionist in that way. The Babalawas in Ifa are not preachers that proselytize, generally speaking, to people. So that there's no dawah. Just what I'm saying. Like to say when we go somewhere, we got to tell them about Olodumare.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. So to infer that they would act like that just because other people have done so, you'll have to find that sensibility. If there was an expansionist sensibility among the people, then we can say, yeah, do you know what?
So if we do find something like that,
Yeah.
then what? Then what?
Then we find something like that.
Does the narrative change then?
It changes in relation to that people.
Right.
It wouldn't change in relation to the rest of the people then.
Right. So don't. Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if you find a spiritual system that
So we
has
say that's a specific case, doesn't apply to everyone then.
well, it wouldn't be a dominant characteristic in terms of from the perspective of indigenous African spiritual systems. If you find one that has an expansionist intention about it,
Right.
it doesn't mean that the rest of them are expansionists. Is the point I'm making?
I hear you. Okay, but you see, Islam,
Yeah.
as far as I see it, is a singular movement, right? So,
Yeah.
or certain. So, if I said to you, right, all right, cool, this so-called invading Arab force that happened to be Muslim, that was one of many Arab civilized, or one of many Muslim societies that didn't invade or impose their religion. Then, would that be challenged then?
All right.
Because you would say then, but it's a dominant thing in Africa. We see it. You see Islam's imposition in Africa as a dominant thing from Muslims entering the continent.
Yes, and my argument is that the dominant characteristic of my Abrahamic religions is expansionism. Yeah. So Judaism, it expanded, but I wouldn't put. It's not the. It didn't do the same thing that Christianity and Islam did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's different, right? What's it called? So I'm not saying that everything is the same, but it's a dominant characteristic. Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. The centralized power in relation to Islam,
Right.
from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, ends with the death of Imam Ali or Imam Hussein. So there's beef between Ali and Hussein. There's beef that disintegrates.
Hussein is Ali's son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after the death of Ali,
Yes.
it defers to Hassan. Hassan, at that point, so Ali during his life was opposed by Muawiyah, who was the start of the Umayyad.
Is that the Kharajite people?
No, that's not his dynasty is what they call the Umayyads.
Right. Yes.
The Umayyad
Yes.
dynasty. Okay, so the centralized power does go on for a bit. I'm not too sure what the last dynasty is as such.
But what's the last recognized caliph?
The last
Or
recognized
caliphate?
caliph, would have been so Hassan. I would say Hassan. Hassan had it for 5 months though.
Right.
So
So we're talking about what time? Like 700 and something. Yeah, 700 and something.
Yeah.
So like about 100 years after the Prophet.
No, less than that.
Less than that.
Less than that. I'd say within. I don't even know. Okay, so Abu Bakr ruled for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Umar for about 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Uthman
Yeah.
was a little bit long. So their expanse was 30 years.
Yeah.
We've been tallying it all up.
Right. And
then Hassan would have came after. So we'd say 30 to 35 years.
right. And so those are rightly guided. Those are the rightly guided ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the considered right.
Yeah.
So after that, you get the Umayyad,
You get the Umayyad. Yeah.
and then you get the Abbasid.
Abbasid. Yeah.
Right. They're called caliphates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they might not be recognized. So, because I'm seeing them as a
Yeah,
centralized.
they are not caliphates on the prophetic methodology. I
Right.
would say. Yeah.
But in terms of Islam in the world at that time, these are the most powerful
these are the systems representing Islam in the world.
at that time.
Yeah.
Right. So I forgot where I was. What question I was answering.
Talk about centralized powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, I forgot where I was going with it.
What, in terms of the way they entered Africa?
Yeah, but my point is that. So So the Umayyads and the Abbasids were dealing with like a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Right, where that is concerned, right?
Yeah.
By this point, North Africa's been invaded, right? The trade routes that facilitate the trade, right? What's it called? Are already now dominated by Arabs who are spreading the religion of Islam.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Are you talking about the trade routes in general? Or are you talking about?
So the trade route. So the trade routes. Basically, trade in North Africa is dominated by Arabs,
right?
And to the extent that those trade routes the trade routes in West Africa are reliant upon the trade routes
On the
in North
trade
Africa.
routes in North Africa.
Right, just what I'm saying. Trade, there's a significant aspect of trade that has been dominated by Arabs who are spreading Islam to varying different degrees.
Right.
Some of the Berbers resist. They eventually, some of them convert. Just what I'm saying, right? So that's what's going
That's
on.
something I need to look into more.
Right,
so,
right. But that's what's going on. And in that context, there is not only a trade relationship, there is a religious expansionism that is taking place that says there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is the messenger. You see all them something, yeah? Just move. We're not dealing with them
So
something.
you're saying that? Okay, so you're saying in the as a backset to the trading, there's also this prevailing narrative.
Well, isn't that what people mean when they say Islam was spread by trade?
No,
So
that's not what I've understood.
They don't literally mean a man sold Islam to a man.
No.
It means a man was selling goods, and in the process, a man gave them the word of Allah.
That's
and
what
said,
I'm saying.
check
So
out
a man
this.
proselytized, but not as in it was like an official mandated thing from the caliph of, we're sending you to Mauritania per se. Make sure you sell your spices, but at the same time call them to Allah too.
I hear you, although my understanding is that and I'm forgetting the name of the general that went into Egypt.
Ahmad ibn al-As.
Was under orders from Abu Bakr at the time.
From Omar.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What's it called? So they were in correspondence. So among those, the first four. When things were going in, they
among the first four, that would have been purely expansionist. It wouldn't have even been a trade thing.
So I'm saying that, and I'm saying that the people that were dealing with that were in contact with the people that they consider to be their leadership in relation to the spreading of Islam. Right. Right. And I'm saying that. My point there is that when we're dealing with these things, whereas Uncle Danjuma is saying that in 2020, the people that converted in West Africa would consider it to be part of their tradition. But when it came, there would have been people that didn't consider that to be the case. Right? When the Takrur people them invaded Wagadu Empire, people were saying, "Well, they come with this foreign thing for when I deal with that rare." Same with Mali and Songhai. So now, if the Afrocentrist is dealing with the perspective of those people, who would have resisted and said, well, no, this is foreign thing, this way I deal with. We're not doing one of them foreign thing around here. You know what I'm saying? Rare. You know what I'm saying? But the fact is, most of the time, they weren't like that. They were accommodating. They said, well, come. We might not accept your religion, but come and sit down and eat yam food, trade, you know what I'm saying? Them kind of things there.
So it's a well-founded criticism. Like it can't be fought.
And I'm saying that's the dominant characteristic. So there's not a dynamic in African history of Muslims being persecuted by traditionalists.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Okay.
Whereas there is a dynamic of traditionalists being persecuted by Muslims and Christians.
Yes.
That tradition, that historical fact is a reality.
Yeah, I think I'm only maybe questioning the part where you say it's a dominant trait. I think that's the part where I have to go back and do the historical analysis.
I hear you, and I'm not. Let me be clearer. I am not saying that perpetually and consistently Muslims just always persecuting man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that history does exist at different points. And but it takes place in the context of the superiority of this religion. So even when direct, violent persecution is not taking place, there is there's
still a proselytizing,
and a superiority, and a social context that facilitates that superiority, which is the trade relationships, which is the government, which is the elites, which is, just what I'm saying, on those kinds of things. So then it degrades the people in them culture a certain way. So the Afrocentric says, well, boy, really and truly, let's restore some dignity to this thing that has been degraded by these people over here. And so there's Arabs who are Muslim that done it, and then there are Africans who adopted Islam
and done the same
the same thing because their religion, as far as they're concerned, compelled them to do so.
Yes, okay.
You see what I'm saying? So the critique of Islam is not a hatred for Muhammad. Who cares?
So the critique should be more. Okay, I can't even say if it should be or not, but I see it as it should be more aimed at the treatment of the Muslims for those local systems, rather than saying that Islam compels people to do the system. Because although I believe Islam is superior to all other ways of life and walks and whatever, I wouldn't be going around saying, these people are lesser than us or not or savage or any of that type thing. That there is, for me, I see it to be like an arrogance or an ignorance of people who don't actually really know what African culture is really about.
And the reality is, I understand that many people in like the Mali Empire had that sensibility. There were others that didn't. So I could take what you're saying more if what was done was not done in the name of the religion,
yes,
as a part of the command of the religion. If there were not scholars that were sanctioning and validating the thing and saying, well, this is where it's justified in the Quran. This is the scholarship. This is what I'm saying. Right. So it's
There's
difficult.
a lot of mad scholarship though, and
right.
not everything.
But I'm saying it's difficult for the people them that are subject to that to differentiate between
to
what's the real thing.
And to be honest, they don't really like.
Don't
I
really
can't
care.
really ask them, man. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's the point. So, but beyond that, we're just saying, well, fam, like really, like this thing of pouring libation, like there's nothing wrong with it, you know, fam. Like really, like there's no devil spirits that are being conjured up.
Nah,
when we pour some water on the floor and say, yo, big up my ancestors and that, you know what I'm saying, come January, and these things, that's not what's taking place. But that's the propaganda. Now, we get that Muslims believe that. That's cool.
No.
Right? No,
It's
seriously.
not a demon thing when it comes to the libation thing.
Yeah.
The libation thing becomes the when you believe, that your ancestors are walking amongst you, they're on the earth, and you're in communion with them as well. You can talk to them.
Yeah.
They can reveal things to you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Where man's like, no, because then you start to attribute supernatural things sometimes, that belong to the creator, and then you associate them or you attribute them to the creation.
Yeah.
That's at the root of every Islamic criticism for any system.
Totally hear that. And
Taking away from the almighty creator and giving it to lesser beings.
I have no problem with the criticism as long as man them keep it that's all. You see what I'm saying? Like, a man's entitled to critique anything he wants. But when you create a whole system that lowers your team to the degradation of my team, we've got problems. And you're going to incur criticism because of that. You see what I'm saying? I would not advocate for my... let's say we got power, as traditionalists, and we said, you know what? We're resurrecting our tradition, and we're not doing no Abrahamic thing, and the man then started to go through Ghana and Nigeria and start mash up mosque, and then I'd get it. I'd get it, but I wouldn't agree with it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Let me give you another scenario then. Yeah. Afrocentric spiritual religions do gain dominance in Africa.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's still Christians and Muslims present. Muslims and Christians are proselytizing, so they're not using any force, but they're still maintaining that your spiritual systems are lesser. Right? If people catch wind of that and then leave the spiritual systems without any force, do you believe that the elites, those people who adhere to those spiritual systems, would let that just fly? Like, cool,
probably
you got
not.
your thing.
No, but Ali Dawa asked me something similar. There'll be vexation. In as much as I'm sure there was vexation when people were doing it 1,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like at any point when people just start to leave their tradition, there's going to be discontent.
But there's this argument though, from your side, is that when we go to historical analysis, we don't see this vexation from the people then.
No, I'm saying that we see an accommodationist strain. To accommodate people from a religion is different from how you feel when your children and your grandchildren start converting to that religion. But even in spite of that sensibility, which I'm sure existed, I can't find you examples of it in history, right? But I'm sure it existed. Like, a Voodoo priest in Dahomey is Pitney converts to Islam. I'm sure he's vexed, right? I'm sure he's not happy with. And at the same time, there were others. You ever read Chinua Achebe? He's a Nigerian author, right? He's a novelist, and he's got a book called Things Fall Apart, Hour of God, and basically he's dealing with things of when the Europeans came, and there's a theme in there whereby a priest among the Igbo people, he actually sent his son to go and study in the missionary school. A lot of people did that. A lot of priests did that. Not solely to convert them, but because they realized that these people were coming with a certain level of force and power behind them. It was like we have to know what it is that they're doing and what they're teaching and them kind of things there. And
sort of reconnaissance, like
kind of thing, or just we got to know our surroundings, so we got to be in touch with what's going on over there. So I'm going to send you to that for that purpose and the kind of things there. And the son converted and became began to proselytize among his own people, and you know what I'm saying, them kind of things there, it led to certain things. And the father became vexed. That's what I'm saying, with the, you know, like he was like, yo, I sent you for this, it's getting too much now, my G. Like, what you deal with, you know what I'm saying, you get me? So I'm sure that existed, but my point is that there's never a point at which there is just like wanton, unprovoked violence from groups of people against Islam. The closest you get to that is the Mossi, in West Africa, because they invaded Songhai a couple times, But the story behind that is that people tried to convert them, and they're seeing this expansion of these people in the name of Islam at that time. So it's reactive, and they invaded a couple times, and they got expelled a couple times. All kind of different things going on, right? Just what I'm saying, right? But really, that doesn't exist. So I'm saying that my only thing is, if heads are gonna, a man is entitled to critique another man's thing based upon his religion, and we can reason about that, like how we're reasoning right now. The point at which it gets to political, economic, and social power, and systematic kind of degradation of another person's spiritual system, the people that adhere to that thing are entitled to say, well, these people are deliberately degrading our thing. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, but some of the things that they're saying about our thing are false. Just what I'm saying. And so we're going to reject this thing now because we see that it's destructive to our thing. We're not dealing with it. Gone. And you see our people that deal with this thing, you see you lot, we've got criticism for you. You're dealing with the invaders' religion or the slave master religion. You're going to get that. You know what I'm saying? And the man have to accept that the people...
It's not correct to say the slave master's religion.
But I'm saying that from the perspective of man, you're going to get them things. The same way that when you ever I've heard Muslims debate Christians in here and go in on about the Crusades and these kinds of things. You just what I'm saying, right? It happens.
Yeah, Muslims don't do themselves any favors when they argue like that.
Right.
I never argue from a standpoint of Christianity being a white man's religion or anything like that. I purely argue it being a false one, like via its own theology. But same things. It's like you said, same arguments can be used as to how Islam entered. Although there's similarities and parallels, but it's not entirely the same as such.
No, I hear that.
But the issue becomes, and I've asked the brothers this before. Then the issue remains: can you be Pan-African? Whilst adhering to an Abrahamic. Do you know what? I don't even care about Abrahamic faith like that because Judaism is few amongst our people. And Christians, generally speaking, they don't adhere to their book. More time, the people that you find shouting proud about their thing is Muslims. So, as a black Muslim, I'll ask the question again: like, can man be Pan-African whilst holding to Orthodox Islam?
Before you came, I was saying that there's a distinction between Pan-Africanism and Afrocentricity. They overlap a whole heap. But if we're going to make it more specific, Pan-Africanism is a political movement. Afrocentricity has a more broader remit in terms of scholarship and culture concerns. But there's a lot of overlap. I consider myself both Afrocentric and Pan-Africanist. So the two traditions are very much intertwined, but there are some distinctions. There are Christians, there are black Christian churches who some may regard as being very Afrocentric in terms of their expression of Christianity. That they view Christianity from an African perspective. They're concerned with the African presence in the Bible. They go to church and wear kente and agbada and the Dinka symbols. They take down the white Jesus and put up jinyame. Just what I'm saying. That happens. And more power to them, right? And these kinds of things, So that happens, and those people will be considered Afrocentric, There are Muslims who have a similar trajectory, especially in the States. You've got a lot of black Muslims who have a very black-centered, because of the nation, and people coming out of the nation, more to the point, Because there are a lot of Sunnis in black America who were members of the Nation of Islam. You see what I'm saying? So, what's his name?
So you're saying they come via Afrocentricity via that group then, rather than just being...
To a degree, I'm saying that because when they convert to Sunni Islam,
Yeah.
they still have a very black-centered focus.
Yeah.
And because they know that Malcolm X traveled to West Africa and you know what I'm saying, in Nigeria, I was meeting with black Muslims there and then kind of things there. They're studying those things and they're connecting themselves to that kind of, so you know what I'm saying, right? The African history or presence of Islam is important to them,
Yeah.
right? Just what I'm saying. So you might consider them Afrocentric in the expression of Islam. There are some Afrocentrics that will tell you, nah, if you're really Afrocentric, you put those things to one side and you deal with Olodumare and you know what I'm saying, right? But there's levels to the thing, is the point I'm making. As far as Pan-Africanism is concerned, there's Pan-Africanism of all kind of religion throughout history. You know what I'm saying? Many people say Nkrumah was a Christian. I question that to some degree. I'm not saying he was a traditionalist. He was certainly somebody who had respect for traditionalists, but he came to be a Roman Catholic. But I feel like he was like one of them. He's Christian in name, but I don't.
My pops is like
right. I don't.
church, but
right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That kind of vibe. Right. You know what I'm saying? Ahmed Sékou Touré of Guinea was a Muslim. Everyone knows he's a Muslim. One of the champion Pan-Africanists of his era. And there are Pan-Africanists who come from the Nkrumah Touréist tradition of Pan-Africanism. Modibo Keïta of Mali, Muslim. Abu Rahman Mohamed Babu, the activist in Tanzania. Malcolm X met him when he went to Tanzania. Yeah, very respected. Yeah, among revolutionaries, and so I'm saying, yeah, you can be Pan-Africanist and all these traditions.
Yeah.
It just means that when you back up our Pan-Africanists who are not them, we're gonna have some debates.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
No, but it just
right?
also means that I need to identify if we're going down the Pan-African route.
Yeah.
Who is it that holds to these Afrocentric views of you
Right.
can't get down with the movement?
Right. No, it's not like you can't get down with the movement. So I feel
You gotta
like
leave. You gotta leave your like your bedroom says.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
come to the table. Yeah.
There-
Without leaving the
more
thing
to
on
the
the
point.
side.
No, I wouldn't. So there are very few Afrocentrics who are going to completely reject brothers and sisters who are in Islam. Yeah, they might tell you that to be truly Afrocentric, you got to leave your Islam, but they're not going to tell you that you can't do anything on behalf of black people if you are a Muslim. You see what I'm saying? They're going to say there's levels to the thing. You see, like ultimate freedom from the Afrocentric point of view, we leave that behind. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're not there right now. You're my brother. And right now, you being my brother is more important than whether you leave your Islam alone or not.
Okay.
I'm still going to encourage you to leave your Islam.
Yeah.
However, you're
Vice
still my
versa
brother.
as well.
Right, you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But that's the dominant sensibility.
Yeah.
Even among black people who are anti-Islam, generally speaking, the whole tips that Uncle Danjuma was talking about, generally speaking, they're not totally rejecting of black people. They more see it as, we'll more see it as, our people have been subjected to indoctrination for centuries. We have a responsibility to save our people from this indoctrination, and they would consider Islam to be a manifestation of that indoctrination. Do you see what I'm saying?
Is there not a level of ignorance to that though? Like, in terms of our people have been indoctrinated just because they are Muslim or Christian? Is it everyone that's Muslim or Christian, that has left their culture or denigrates their culture, other than in the spiritual sense? Yeah. I find that Senegalese Muslims are very proud of their culture, their language, their food, their clothing. I find that
but they're also Sufis.
Congolese. There are amongst them Sufis, but there are amongst them Sunnis as well.
I'm saying the dominant. Well, I don't say the dominant, but the significant.
There's a lot of them.
Right. Yeah. In Senegal, places like that, because Sufism allows for a more mystical thing.
Yeah.
Like it's easier for them.
Hands with everyone. Yeah.
It's easier for them man there to hold on to certain things. You know what I'm saying? It just so happens that when man get more fundamentalist in their thing, the more they have to leave that behind.
But I'm saying even in Ghana, where
it's very few Muslims.
There is Sufis. There's 40% of Ghana is Muslim, bro.
I was not aware of that.
40% of Ghana, and
I did not know
like
that.
in Africa, in most places, they're centered up north. There's house.
Oh yes, I did know that. I did know that.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't know it was high as 40%.
Yeah, bro.
I didn't know it was high as 40%.
The thing is, you don't really interact with them here because most times they tend to stay
in Ghana.
Or you do find them in the Arab world as well, like in parts and pockets. Don't really know what they're doing there, but you know, to each his own. But yeah, bro.
Now, what's the percentage of Ghana that is Christian?
So Okay, so I'm gonna say 60.
Exactly.
But I recognize
Do you
the
see the
fact
point
that
I'm
you say,
making?
yeah.
Right.
I recognize, because that's what it is. The majority is. You do sort of negate the spiritualist aspect. But even though as I'm saying that, yeah, most of the people them are synchronists anyway. So,
I can
like I'm
do
saying, like it's mad. I've never actually seen one. I've watched films. It's only like now I'm clocking. I've watched films where someone go to the medicine man or the doctor, and they're doing tasbih. Tasbih is like saying subhanallah. They're mentioning the name of Allah whilst they're doing their things.
But that happens in Christianity a lot in the Caribbean. So you go to the Obeah man and they give you psalms. It's the same thing that you see with the man in they wear the scripture.
Yeah.
A man will give you a psalm, and say read this 3 times and go out, pour some of this and pour some of that, and you know what I'm saying? That's how it goes, right? So it happens like that. So you got to find that in the same thing in the Quran. Where the Quran is, it becomes, and there is wisdom in all of these books. We don't deny this, and so this is the point. So I'm saying that from that time till now, what we see from an Afrocentric point of view is that what is not getting respect are these indigenous things. And the problem is that it's not just a religious sense, in the sense of the fact that
it's only like the theoretical part.
Right.
You're saying the people themselves are being dehumanized. Like,
at the same time, but also in the spiritual system, there's a philosophy and a culture and a history that comes along. So what is Islam without the story of Prophet Muhammad?
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why hadith, for the majority of Muslims, is considered to be significant, because you want the stories as associated with the Prophet.
Because it
and
contextualizes a lot, like knowing why, say, for example, certain verses were revealed, what have you.
How the thing was revealed.
Yeah.
What the journeys, why did Muhammad go to Medina?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? What role did he take on when he was in Medina?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why did he go to war with these people? Yeah, and then, so that gives you context now. So when you know that, and you know that this particular verse was revealed at that time, then you're able to say, well, this is what the verse means because it was revealed at this time, and this is what Allah was revealing in this context.
And the parallel you're drawing is that the spiritual systems have the same thing.
I know. Yeah.
The parallel you're drawing is that the spiritual system have the same thing.
So all of that is lost.
Right. But I would so then that's where maybe I haven't understood then. Yeah?
Right.
Even though I'm born to a Ghanaian family, I haven't understood. As I've seen it, it's only ever been ritualistic. Those philosophies haven't transferred, which is why I say that scholarship is few. Maybe there are some people who understand it in the means that you do, but most people, don't understand it in that context.
I'd agree with you, but you know why? Because man have been writing about the Quran and the Bible. So man is not concerned to write about the. You know, see what I'm saying? There are things that
those
exist.
things. Okay. So I'll backtrack. Anansi.
Yep.
Kweku Anansi is one of the things from Akan spiritual tradition. Yeah. And they narrate these stories, and they've been preserved orally, but they've been, obviously the West have come and taken and written it, but they've been preserved orally to teach the people how to move in certain situations or what have you.
Definitely.
I'm saying, look, it's even, Anansi's preserved, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying,
to a significant degree. I'm sure there's
to a certain degree. So I'm saying, and I know that there's orators still back in Ghana, at a local level, who still pass on these spiritual wisdom.
Definitely.
And I'm saying, I personally don't believe Islam says do away with the whole thing and don't mention.
Except for the fact that Kweku Anansi is considered Abosom. He's a son of Nyankopong. You see what I'm saying? So it's all well and good teaching Kweku Anansi, but don't bring this Abosom business into it. He's a son of Nyankopong and Asaseya. Right? It's this what I'm saying. So I'm saying that. So can you teach? So can you? But that's the point I'm trying to make. But can you teach Kweku Anansi really?
You can't
and not teach Nyankopong and Asaseya?
I'm saying if you are making it a similar. Do you know what?
The point is now you have to teach.
Point to expound on.
But what happens is, and this happens in the Caribbean, because remember, from the Caribbean.
What's wrong with teaching Anansi just like
as
the trickster, the spider?
You can, and I'm saying it's real for me because Kweku Anansi is one of the things that we preserved heavily in the Caribbean. That makes us know where we come from. Like a lot of the stories, right? Seriously, I don't know about Anansi from going to Ghana. We grew up with a Nancy story. That's how it is, right? You know what I'm saying? So we've got a lot of it there, right? So my
Tell them Arawaks then, fam.
Say again?
They'll tell them Arawaks, cuz.
Another story for another time. They'll tell you that you know the Inca had it from a long time, and the Inca went to West Africa and gave it to the Ashanti.
And they came back.
Yeah, came back. Right? What's it called? But
Sorry,
it's another story. It's another story, right? But my only point is that yes, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. But I'm saying that from a person who's serious about their tradition, you could appreciate that there are things that you lose. It's like saying, it's like a Quran is coming to you, and saying, man don't do with hadith. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man just do a Quran. You're gonna tell him, but there's things that you're missing. Yeah.
Tell him that. I get it. You want to you want to have the liberty to expound on it in the full context. With your own liberty.
Right.
I hear you.
This is what I'm saying. Right. That's all it is. So I'm saying there's things that you're gonna lose, and this is what I was going for, because Uncle Danjuma, you have to watch him certain time, you know, because he's a little rare Nazi himself. With love, Uncle. With love. He's gonna laugh when he hears that, because he does these. You know, you have to watch him. You know what I'm saying, right? But that's the point I'm trying to make. So I'm saying that the Afrocentric now is reacting to that context. Yeah, and so you know what I'm saying. So it's like Muslims today reacting to the West. Yeah. Like, what, we don't want Western values, fam. We got Islam, about democracy. America, and we don't care about your computer and your capitalism, and we're not interested in that. Islam, we are say, and we don't care if
you like it or not.
That's it. We don't want that, and that's where the Afrocentric is right now. They're just saying, listen, right, we don't need all these things. We had something before, and you know what I'm saying. And the more we study it, and the more we see the beauty in it, and the potential that it may have had to build great nations and civilization. There are men doing studies right now on science in pre-colonial Africa and the scientific civilizations that were in development, prior to these times. This is what I'm saying. So,
okay. So let me ask you this as well, Let's say the African spiritual system in Africa at the time of the advent of Christianity and Islam, was it dwindling, or were the people forced out of those systems?
No, the spiritual systems weren't dwindling. Some of the empires were dwindling.
Right.
So there were various different social dynamics, and again, I'm not one who argues that just adhering to an African spiritual system is the answer to all problems.
Right.
This I'm saying. So there were breakdowns that whereby we had issues that we weren't, solving it. And there wasn't enough time certain times, because you're dealing with situations whereby you're dealing with constant invasion. From the time of 525 BC when the Persians took over Egypt, there's been constant invasion after invasion, and a lot of migration as a result of those invasions. A book that my Muslim brothers and sisters hate, which is Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, which Uncle Danjuma mentioned earlier, goes into these things. Because he doesn't treat Islam very well in the book, people want to throw away the whole book. Just what I'm saying. But he doesn't necessarily treat
the Christianity or whatever.
Or even indigenous spiritual systems any nicer, because he's analysing the weaknesses among us that allowed for certain things to take place. So he does consider Islam, the coming of Islam, to be one of those things that destroyed certain things. But he's saying that there's a certain thing. One of the things that he will say is that we were even us in traditional spiritual systems, too accommodationist. Right? We didn't have a sensibility among us that allowed us and to protect our team in a certain kind of way, because we didn't perceive the danger. Because when we're dealing with each other, like the man who's dealing with this spiritual system, we don't have to have that guard up.
But you know what? That leads to wider questions. And I was discussing it with a brother still. But for me, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to get too deep into it, because I don't want to I feel like this line of conversation might arm certain Eurocentric people. But in the sense of you talking about migration, I can trace their migration path to Egypt, right? Being in Egypt, it couldn't, or I find it hard to envision the fact that they would not have interacted with the Greeks, Phoenicians, Assyrians, and all have it. Those people were people of warfare and expansion, regardless of what their spiritual systems were, right? Being from...
Sorry. I see you a special guy, though.
Is it IC3?
Yeah, it's a special brother, family.
special
he's a joker. Yeah. So being from these places, knowing about warfare, about ships, about people dominating each other, and migrating. I don't know what they're. Obviously, there's speculation. Maybe it was fear, but I'm finding it hard to understand why, if you fled from that region and settled, why would you not prepare yourself? Eventually, to face that kind of onslaught or that like, you know, the nature of the people that are surrounding you. So why was there no sort of intense level of self-preservation?
And that is a big question, and it's one that's still being answered. And I think that not everybody has all the answers for it. There are a few different things in play here. Some would say some did. I'll come back to that in a second. But bearing in mind that it wasn't just war that was dealing with, it was also environmental factors. So the expansion of the desert, a lot of people that migrated
like
from
grazing
that valley,
like farming and that,
right,
all them types of things.
There were swamp periods where people were traveling through. You know what I'm saying? There was all kinds of different environmental factors that led to all kinds of different things. Some would argue that the Ashanti kingdom is an example of that, but because that sensibility actually became destructive because it was internalized in relation to other African groups.
Right.
It's just what I'm saying. Some would argue that. Yeah. Some would say the same for the Yoruba and the Dahomey.
Okay.
Just what I'm saying. So there's a balance to be struck between having that war sensibility you've got to protect. Some would say the same for Shaka Zulu. It's just what I'm saying. So there's a balance to be struck. And it's a funny one for the Afrocentric because the Afrocentric loves Yah Santa, for example. Yeah. But then when
Yah Santa's ancestors would have been going around running them up.
This is what I'm saying, right? And so we have to put the things into context. So it doesn't mean that we don't celebrate the Ashanti Kingdom, but we have to put some nuance on the thing at the same time as well, right? And see where people went against the thing and whatever else like that. So there's those two things.
Bearing in mind also, Ashanti was also they weren't always the warrior class. Before them, you had the Denshia, and the Denshia became absorbed. Denshia they were the top dogs, right? So it's not a thing. Maybe they end up doing that because they had a little taste of it and thought, we don't really want to be in this position.
All of that takes place. So instead of unifying, there are people that are Africans that are warring each other now. So we're not fortified enough because we're warring each other to fend off the threat from outside. But the problem with now, if we go down that road, first of all, I realize that you're giving a very Ashanti-centered explanation of the history. You know what I'm saying? So I want to say that, right? And as an Ashanti descendant, a slightly different removed from the from the emotional tie here, I do recognise that. At the same time, some would say the same for when Morocco invaded Songhai. You know what I'm saying? That because there was religious tension in the empire, because not everybody in the empire was Muslim. It didn't allow for them to be fortified enough to fend off that invasion. That's what I'm saying. Then there are others that will say, well, the same for Ghana. When the Takuru people came, you know what I'm saying, and the Almoravids and so on and so forth came, there wasn't enough unity to be able to. Just what I'm saying. So and that's the major fact. That is a major factor. So the Afrocentric is realistic about these things, innit? Those that know, innit?
That's the thing, though. Like I said, scholarship is few, and I'm mainly going because I've been opened up to this world via the park and via YouTube. And I had to ask Sheikh Danjuma the other is Pan-Africanism, and I'm saying that with a little bit of Afrocentricity overlapped in it. Is it a viable thing? Is it a viable movement? Seen as the reality is, for the most part, our ancestors were not gathered upon one page. Is it possible to reach a solution, a betterment, where we're on one page, or can we reach betterment without being on one page?
It's no less possible than it is to have one ummah.
I'm not gonna disagree, but I'm gonna put something to you in the sense of, right, outside of all the little movements that you said, the central mantra of Islam is La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. That's what unites Muslims and the belief in the Quran, although so I'm not gonna go into fringe groups or whatever, but
so you're saying that we need one principle to stand on?
It would make things more easy.
Right. So now I'm saying so there's two things there, right? for the Afrocentrist who's a Pan-Africanist,
Yeah.
that thing is African culture. Yeah?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And an appreciation for African culture. There are some Afrocentrists who would say, so therefore, the African Muslim and the African Christian needs
leave
to
that
have...
thing.
No, not necessarily. There are some that say that. Yeah. But there are others who would say they don't have to leave, but they have to develop an African-centered appreciation for that religion. You see what I'm saying?
An African-centered, an African-centered thing for Islam. Then
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Which for some Muslims is haram. You see what I'm saying? That sounds like nationalism. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Right. But my point is that from an African-centered point of view, there are some Pan-Africanists who would say that will challenge the Afrocentrist position and say, for example, Kwame Ture. Yeah. He's quite a key Pan-Africanist, right? He is a student of Sekou Touré in Guinea. So his argument is, I cannot be ashamed of Islam because Africans gave Islam to the world. Africans gave Judaism to the world. Africans gave Christianity to the world. Yeah? And because of that, then the religion is not an impediment to Pan-African unity. There are these different strains of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Afrocentrist critique of that would be, yeah, that's all well and good, but we see when them man they come among us, this is how they behave. Just what I'm saying. So my point is that the answer to that question is not settled. There are different perspectives on it. But there are Pan-Africanists who are Muslim and Christian. There are Muslims and Christians who concern themselves with the history of Africa in their religion. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I find that those brothers and sisters have less of an issue. Like Uncle Danjuma, he'd be an example of this to some degree. Right? What's it called? In terms of, I'm an African, but I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim, but I'm an African. You see what I'm saying? That sensibility exists. And no real African person is going to deny the fact that sensibility exists. Even if we see it ultimately as problematic, but we appreciate that we're on a journey, and that the fact that our brothers and sisters in Islam share our passion for Africa and things African is something that we can talk about and we can unite on at least to some degree. And we can do with that to some degree. And then another point, when you want to bring me Dawa, then we're going to debate. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So roll out a jollof and let's talk. You know what I mean? You know, that's how it's going to be.
Food,
right, you see what I'm saying? That's how it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it is. But when I look, I was watching this thing the other day, and this brother went to where the Dogon people are, and he asked them the question, how do you feel about the fact that so many of the younger ones are leaving their tradition? They fought hard to preserve the tradition, surrounded by Muslims, yeah? And it's difficult to do that. How you feel? The idea is that some of the younger ones are now leaving their tradition, and they're asking them how do you feel about this? And the man basically said, look, yeah, the ancestors are more powerful than anything going on around here. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The prayers for the ancestors are more powerful than what go on in the church right now, and all these things. So you know what I'm saying? It's just that. There was no hostility in his statement whatsoever. Like, he didn't feel like he had to ride on man and go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, listen, right, ancestors we are dealing with, and I'll just eat that.
But would you not say that's a superior thing, though? For a man to say it's more powerful.
I definitely believe that my African ancestors are superior to Abraham and Moses. Definitely.
100
Yeah.
then. So
In relation to what I'm dealing with. Yeah.
Right. So then, on that standpoint, then.
But the difference is, I'm saying that they're superior in terms of me fulfilling my African sense of being. I don't have no problem with the people that come from those people dealing with those people. That it would be a folly for the man from India, to see Orunmila and Oduduwa as more superior to Rama and Sita. Like, and the fact that for him, Rama and Sita is the thing is not a problem for me. Right? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so I'm not in a competition with him.
Right. So here, what you're dealing with is family and ancestry, whereas Islam is not. Because what you're saying, like.
Yes and no.
That's why I don't really feel comfortable attaching myself to Kemet.
Yeah.
Because what I know is Ashanti. That's the line that I can see.
But what if I could prove to you?
If you can prove to me, that's all fair dues.
Right.
Yeah. But I would need something significant. Yeah. Because it seems that man are trying to jump on that because they want to free themselves from transatlantic slavery and they want to attach themselves to something that makes them feel more prideful.
And that's the propaganda. At the same time, a lot of that comes from, again, Diop's idea of the cultural unity of Black Africa, and he starts the foundation of that at Kemet. So the idea is simply that there is cultural influence in West Africa from Kemet. Now I'm listening to man who are dissecting language, and they're saying that there are words in Tree that are derivations of the ancient Kemetu language and these kinds of things. Even down to the spiritual system, and even in the Yoruba. And that's what I'm saying. So there are these, and it's possible because it's clear that the man they were trading with each other. West Africa and East Africa were trading for centuries.
Okay.
So why is it so far-fetched to believe that there's people crossover, cultural influence, and it's just
There
I'm saying.
isn't that, but I'm saying when you try to contain it only to Africa, there would have been man trading with the North.
Of course.
And in the North, the Northern Peninsula, there would have been man trading with the Iberian Peninsula in Europe.
Yeah.
So there would have been that crossover as well. So when you see similarities in language, that doesn't necessitate that somehow you can trace your lineage back to a certain people. And
The idea is not that the Ashanti in their entirety come from, but you would know. I don't know how well you know the oral history of the Ashanti.
I'm not that proficient in it.
The
Still.
Ga, the Ewe, talk about the narrations, and this is the point because again, a lot of the traditional ceremonies are places
See,
during
Ga and
which
Ewe were people that we wouldn't consider to be
Ashanti. I know.
Yeah.
They're not. They're
Yeah.
not. I was using them as other
Okay,
examples,
yeah.
but among them, these various different groups, they have a shared aspect of their oral history that talks about them coming from a place called City, which in localized languages is for the Nile Valley. It's Kemet. That's what I'm saying. So it's
M City, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
in Arabic that would be Misr. So, yeah.
right. You know what I'm saying?
So
right.
it's got
That's what I'm
similar-
saying, right?
yeah.
So that the fact is that it may not be that all of the people. When you look into it further, this is my understanding of it. Is that there's a group of the people that came from Ovaso.
Right.
They met other people, which often who are referred to as pygmies, or the Twa, who some people say are the original people that were in West Africa, that were dwelling in the forest and the kind of things there. Those people amalgamate and they form different groups of people.
That name sounds familiar. I'm going to go ask my pops about
Right?
the Twa.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying, right? So there are all kinds of. So it's not that everybody came from Yasso and came over here. It's more complex than that. You see what I'm saying? But also, so then with the people that came from over there, there is an influence in the culture that derives from there, as well as the people that they met when they came. You see what I'm saying? And remembering us also that there wasn't one group of people over there as well.
There was loads of groups.
There's different groups of people
Yeah.
that moved and went to different places.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may have got two different groups of people that came from over there to over here, and you see what I'm saying? So that's more complete the story. You see what I'm saying? So what the reason for that is that we're saying that like Greece and Rome unifies Europe. Yeah, there's an African continuity of history that can unify Africa if we understand it, if we invested in building up that cultural, that historic unity. You see what I'm saying? So the French ain't the same as the British, and the Spanish, and the Portuguese,
Yeah.
but Greece and Rome.
Yeah, but would you not say they've moved on from Greece and Rome?
No.
They still hold to the ideals
Hey,
of
you
Greece
know what I
and Rome.
learned a few years ago?
What's that?
You see the Olympic torch?
Yeah. It's
I
it's
did
a
not
Greek
know,
thing, yeah.
but I didn't know that every Olympics, the torch bearing thing starts in Greece every year.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't know that.
Ah.
Yeah, I think it was when the Olympics was first here in 2012.
Yeah.
When it was here, that's when I learned that. Yeah, like 8 years ago. That the torch is carried from Greece to wherever the Olympics
I
is
didn't even
being
know
held
that. Still,
every year.
I knew it was a Greek thing. It's got Greek origin, but
When they talk about democracy, where do they start?
Greece, obviously,
Greece.
yeah. But I'm saying they have those are the
in
founding
philosophy,
principles.
When you study philosophy at university, they start Plato, Socrates. I study philosophy. Man studied bare Plato, and so that's where it started. Then you go out to Descartes and Nietzsche, and you know what I'm saying?
Most of those works were translated by Arabians, though.
Yeah, because the Arabians had a great
or Persians. Anyway, I keep saying Arabians.
right, yeah,
but
yeah, right. What's it called? But they had great respect for the Greeks and them kind of things there, right? You know what I'm saying? So we know this, but I'm saying that this is where these people present. So now that the nation is still Christian, but you can't tell them, like they still. In all the mythology, you go around the city, the films, you'll still find Thor, yeah? You know what I'm saying? And Woden, and Zeus, yeah? You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas I don't find that same appreciation. The days of the week are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
But you see what
Yeah.
though? See, because I find it interesting because I see parallel between Kirkwanansi and Loki, the same kind of.
Yeah. It's not the first time I've heard that. Yeah.
Trickster type deity,
Yeah.
lower deities. But they have caricatured their versions of their spiritual systems.
Yeah.
But you man have, or what I see is you man are trying to validate it.
Oh yeah.
So-
yeah, it's both. So there are man doing films that like where the Orisha are superheroes and that. You see what I'm saying? There's an animation coming out of, you know what I'm saying? There's a Commotion Studios in Nigeria where Shango is, you know what I'm saying? It's an anime thing, fam.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
sick,
Which is not a problem because stories in ancient times played a similar role to films in these times. So there's nothing wrong with that. There are certain men who do the Orisha tradition that are a bit thing about that though still. Because they're studying the depiction and they want to see if it's accurate. And it's just what I'm saying, they don't want it to be an affront to. You want to make sure you're representing
the image,
properly. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that happens. You know what I'm saying? That happens too. Because, and it's, as far as I see it, it's not a perversion of the tradition to represent it in that way.
Yeah.
It's just what I'm saying to me personally. But the white Christian doesn't have to campaign against Zeus to put Zeus in a film because they just understand it's a part of their history. They may not be worshipping Zeus today, but it's still a part of their history that they give credence to. Just what I'm saying?
Say that though, and that's what I'm saying. But I don't know personally. I know you're saying about the I would say very few people in the Western communities actually give credence to Zeus. And man would just in university or
not
schools
Zeus
of-
the individual.
No, as in the culture, even mythology, Hercules, Athena. They might use it in novels and what have you.
They're
but-
still making Hercules films today, right? Just what I'm saying.
Right, but those films are labelled under fiction though.
Yeah, no, legends more. But I'm saying that this is how they're replicating and recreating their culture.
Right.
The point is.
Okay.
So they may not be.
So they're keeping it relevant. It's still by these things, and they're not facing like a backlash for it.
Just what I'm saying.
Right.
Christian as they are, there's no dichotomy between being Christian and watching a film about Troy.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying.
Even I'll watch an Avengers with Thor and
All
have
that,
an issue
all
with
that,
them
that's
still.
what I'm saying.
But just because
You know
I
what's
see
funny,
it, I
right?
have to see it as a fiction thing.
Last week I was here, and it just dawned on me that the amount of Muslims that wear Nike trainers.
Yeah.
Right? Nike is a goddess. Yeah, just what I'm saying. Like it's a mad thing. I'm not throwing words, I'm not throwing shots. But I'm just saying, it just dawned on me. I don't think you're right. Like this is a blatant goddess, right? That's what I'm saying.
But do you know what it's got to do with the fact that, as far as I know, anyway, there is the image of Nike, as it were, per trainer, is not representing Nike, the goddess.
Yeah.
It's not been that. It's a name.
But do you reckon that could swing though in like Ghana, yeah?
How do you mean?
Like imagine, like a man created a.
Like if I was wearing crepe saying Nyami on the side or something.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or Nyankopong.
But we still wear Nyami. I've got a white thing that I wore
True.
to my mum's funeral.
True.
With the signs
and
in
it was funny, I was talking to Ashanti brother the other day, and he didn't actually know that their Dinka symbols were not originally Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like he associated it with the Christian
because
God.
it's become so assimilated
Associated
with it.
with just what I'm saying. So whereas and that's partly because one of the things that the white man did that was effective was he translated the Bible into local languages early. That's what I'm saying. Now, come and talk to Danjuma. If we're going to talk about that in that dynamic there,
Man, I've got to get my guy. I've got a Ghanaian Bible that I just brought to mind. But yeah.
Is there a Quran entry?
There ain't one still.
Right, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. Because you have to learn it in the Arabic.
Yeah.
Because so there's something that comes with that. So if we're going to talk about the two, you could argue, and I'm not arguing this, but you could argue that Christianity allowed the African to preserve his language more than Islam did. You could make the argument. If a Christian was standing here and he was debating you about this dynamic.
Theoretically speaking, I can see where you're coming from, as in the Bible has generally been translated into different people's tongues, and they've been able to retain Christianity in their languages. But I would say the actions of colonial powers, such as the French, made sure that you have French-speaking colonies, which where their languages have dwindled.
Definitely.
Whereas I would like to say anyway, maybe I'm wrong, but you will still find.
No, it's wrong. You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Especially if you're dealing with North Africa. Because the Berbers, them are not having it
The
right
Berbers
now.
still talk their
They
their
do,
thing, though.
but I'm saying what they're battling against is still the
persecution
imposition of the language
of their
right?
culture.
This is what I'm saying, right? So I go as far as to say that there are languages.
That is due to Arab supremacy, though.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. But I'm saying that, the supremacy of the Arab language is encoded in Islam.
No, it's not encoded.
It is,
it's
bro.
Not. It's encoded in the works of people that come after. But as for like the scholars, but I would say in Islam
If
itself,
it wasn't, then it wouldn't be taboo to translate the Quran.
it's not taboo. You have Quran in English. That's what I read it in.
Yeah.
But what it is it's a translation of the meanings of the actual Quran.
I'll take back the word taboo.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. But what
It's
I am
like
saying,
what you're saying is.
to some degree,
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing I didn't say talking to Danjuma, you know.
Yeah.
I was listening to a conversation the other day whereby there was a debate taking place among scholars in Timbuktu concerning this subject.
Right.
Whether local languages are sufficient for the transmission of Islam. And there are scholars saying that it's important that we are able to relay Islam in our language. There are others saying no. The religion of Islam must be relayed in Arabic. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that the ultimate understanding of Islam comes when you are able to understand the Quran in Arabic.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Yes and no.
Right, okay, go on.
Yes and no. The ultimate. Okay, I don't even like it like that because I was trying to say to.
Sorry, boss. Don't block the camera though. Don't block the camera. Yeah.
I tried to relate it to a brother as in like a ball in 3D, yeah, like with your eyes, you can turn it around, see it right.
Mm-hmm.
With English, yeah, you kind of having like a 2D representation of that ball from whatever surface you're looking at.
Yeah.
The Arabic allows you to go deeper and find nuance.
Right.
However, that nuance can be communicated
in English.
Right. It can also be learned, even if you don't know Arabic.
Yeah.
It can still be passed on to you.
You can get the understanding.
Right. So it's not a thing of. You would only be hindered if you felt like. I maybe do not want a middleman to go through it, such as myself.
Okay.
I am continually learning the language. I'm continually learning the language so that I don't have to go through
a middleman. Yeah.
That being said, even as I learn the language now, it's not as if some people are, but it's the majority of what I'm learning is corroborated by native Arab speakers anyway. So, like I said, it's still there. Yes, there is reciting in the language that the Quran was revealed. It's Arabic. Your prayer is in Arabic, but it's not because of a veneration of the language, but it's as veneration of the Prophet and emulation of his actions.
Yeah.
So he says, pray as you see me praying. So we take that literally. We ain't changing no goalposts. He prayed in Arabic, we pray in Arabic. Right. But do I need to then now make sure that all the books in the schools in Ghana are changed from Akan to Arabic? No, it doesn't. And there's no, although some scholars might want to project that, and I believe for my part, for a lot of them, it's from an angle of them thinking them being Arab is supreme to the rest of the cultures.
And I've seen arguments that reference hadith to that effect. Yeah, I'm not putting it on the man them. I'm just saying that there are arguments
hadiths which I would say have been misunderstood.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But from the man that are quoting it, they're telling me that it's
bruv, and
it's
bring
authentic.
them same man them here in front of the camera and I'll ban them.
Right, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right, and see, I can work with that in the sense of the fact that if you want to speak Arabic in the masjid, it's blessed. But there's from an African centered perspective, when it comes to like, there is a thing about elevating African languages to languages of instruction, to languages of politics.
Yeah.
Just what I'm saying, for a lot of different reasons, and I get it because I wouldn't even bother myself. For me, it's not a negative thing to say that in order to understand Islam properly, you have to read Arabic necessarily. Partly because I'm understanding, like in studying Ifa, how much more understanding I would develop if I spoke Yoruba fluently.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm imagining, and I need to do more research on this, that it wouldn't be too
wouldn't be a
difficult.
hindrance.
Well, it might be from Yoruba to English.
Okay.
But if I was to say from Yoruba to Fon or Tree, would it be that much of a hindrance to understand if you translate it into Tree? I don't think it would be.
Because you probably have more similarities
in the languages or the philosophical concepts of it. That's what I'm saying, right? So that's something that I want to look into more in the future. Just what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's the thing for me. And it's so I want to deal with it in the masjid. But when we talk about
but also as well, one of the things is like you said that it come to mind when you mention language. So a place like Mecca, right, where several people congregate, it serves the people to have a common language, right? I might buck up with a Chinese brother that only speaks Chinese or Arabic because it's this religious thing. There's no way I can chat to the brother in Chinese. So Arabic becomes the language that binds us all together, and this is universal language. So again, it might not even be a veneration thing. It might just be out of ease and communication to join the Muslim world. We know that the predominant thing that started, the predominant people were the Arabs.
I'm sure that existed. And I don't deny that. I'm just saying that there was this other dynamic in terms of whether we can truly appreciate the religion, whether we can truly worship Allah
without knowing Arabic.
And that's why so much of the scholarship tradition was written in Arabic. They weren't just right, and it became a mark of your scholarship, a mark of your eruditeness to be able to write and dispense this information in Arabic. So that before you came, we were talking about the manuscripts that have been found in Timbuktu and the so-called Ajami scripts, which use the Arabic scripts, but they're written in the local languages, but they're not they're not considered with the same. To be the same authority, the same eruditeness. You know what I'm saying? It's like the difference between like Shakespeare and any random
I understand.
and 50 Shades of Grey. You know what I'm saying? In terms of English literature. You know what I'm saying?
Even bringing it back. So one of the books that you study in Arabic is called Ajurumiyya. Ibn Ajrum was like a Moroccan. I believe he was a Moroccan of black complexion. But one of the so it starts off talking about kalam, which is speech, and it goes to kalam or laf. Kalam is pronunciation. Al-murakkab, that is made of more than one word. Al-mufid, beneficent, bil-wadi'. So when they come to the part about bil-wadi', what does bil-wadi' mean? Some say this means it's Arabic, which literally means that if you're speaking and you're not using Arabic, it's not speech. So I get, there is that supremacist element.
I'm not saying it's Arabic is the mother of all languages. I was amazed. I was amazed by this claim. I was amazed.
But he said that from pure ignorance. Yeah, but you got people that will argue that language in Jannah or in the hereafter is Arabic. And I have to turn to a man and say, I beg you bring the delete.
Right. Yeah.
Some people are just, they've assumed it, and sometimes maybe because it's so normalized, it's everywhere. You see Arabic, the Prophet was Arabian, the hadiths are in Arabic, he's telling you what's going on in Arabic, so you might just subconsciously assume.
But it makes sense if the word of God, the literal words of Allah are revealed in this language, it makes complete sense that you're going to apply sacredness and divinity to the language.
But I'm saying the literal word of Allah says that He sent the messengers, in the tongues of their people, and this is the last. This is the last thing. What about the things that came before? They've been other languages. So why don't we venerate Hebrew or Aramaic or whatever language? And we know that there's African prophets. So clearly there was an African language that the prophet was sent with.
We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
So can we pray to Allah then for the revelation of what that language was? Is that possible?
Inshallah, I might show it to you in a dream, bro. You never know. But it don't. So it doesn't make sense. Like Allah has already said, He sent His prophets all with different tongues. And if it says for that point in terms of language, that is only a point that is used. The word term is misguidance. يُضِلُّ بِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He guides whoever he wants via that point of the languages, or he misguides. But the point is, if that's a point of contention for you, then so be it. If you're going to risk, or not even risk, if you're going to reject the testament based on that, then that's your issue you've got to deal with. But yeah, for me, I don't know, man. I picked up another tongue. It weren't a thing of I was dying or I feel like I'm more superior now that I know some Arabic. Doesn't mean. In fact, I will chat to a man in English just to make a point. Yeah.
No, I hear that.
But, yeah, man.
I hear that. Love the conversation, bro. Yeah, man. I'm gonna come back to talk with Danjuma on this buck treaty thing. So yeah.
What is the buck? Just briefly explain.
I won't go into it deeply, but what it is that when so the Nubia converted to Christianity,
Right.
in the 6th century AD, and following that, with the invasion of the Arabs, they was across North Africa. They tried to invade Nubia,
Okay.
and Nubia gave them some licks.
So we gave the Moroccans some.
No, the Arabs some licks.
Okay.
Yeah, comprehensive that defeat basically.
Okay.
And so there was in relation to these, but there was a few wars after that major defeat.
Okay.
As a result of these things, a treaty was signed between them. And
The
Uncle
one
Da-
where it mentioned they're going to give slaves of a certain amount.
yeah.
Right.
So Uncle Danjuma's argument is that basically, if they were given 300 and something slaves a year to the Arabs, it suggests that they already had slavery going on among them.
Right.
So I wanted to address that point of view.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say what I'm going to address.
So I'm assuming
Yeah.
you're going to negate the serfdom there.
No, I'm
Okay.
not necessarily going to do that. Most Afrocentrics are not going to negate the fact that they were serfdom in Africa.
Okay.
It's not really an argument. The only argument that is concerned is that it ain't the same as what they brought when they were enslaving us. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So
all right.
and we would say that for the Arabs as well as the Europeans. So we don't make the argument that the Arab slavery was more akin to what we had as regards serfdom, but the Europeans were the next thing. The argument is more that no, the Arab thing was more like the European thing.
Yeah,
That's the argument.
That's okay. Yeah, so that's obviously for me.
So
That's a point of contention.
Yeah.
Like, because I would say to you,
Yeah.
the European thing,
Yeah.
were nothing like the Arabian thing.
I-
But
I-
both were Efries though.
Shagri.
So
The only thing I'll say is this: what I'd give you is that the European was more devastating in a shorter space of time. You see what I'm saying?
okay, so the Arab thing went on for a longer period.
Period of time.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So we have to take that into consideration. So yeah.
But one of the points as well, just sorry to keep people, one of the things that, because we were talking about North Africa and their relationship with West Africa, one of the things is, people always come at me, generally speaking, or other black Muslims, and say the Arabs enslaved your people. Now, pardon me if I draw a line in the middle of Africa and say this is the east of Africa, this is the west. As far as I know, I don't know any Akan, that was enslaved by any Arab, right? So, in that context, no, I don't have to deal, in terms of my ancestry, with what the Arabians did in the east or in the Horn.
Yeah.
Or
I take your point from an African-centered perspective. It don't matter if it was your ancestors, my ancestors, the other brothers' ancestors. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that distinction. If it was just East Africa and the Swahili states, it's still part of the thing.
Okay.
So it will be like arguing, and it did happen. It happened more than people give credit for. But it will be like somebody in South Africa arguing, well, that don't relate to us because our ancestors weren't taken into slavery over the Atlantic.
But I'm saying,
I'm saying?
certain man in the east
Yeah.
are saying that.
Yeah.
They're turning around and saying,
Fam, there are certain men in the West that are saying that.
you man ain't nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So, alright, cool. Man said he don't want nothing to do with me, innit? So I'm just focused on my own, innit?
I hear that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the point. And so from an African-centered perspective, Afrocentric perspective, that's division. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we get over. That division is what facilitated the enslavement process in the first place, from an Afrocentric perspective.
Right.
The fact that we couldn't look at our brother and see that he's our brother and our sister.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, and unify against this common enemy that we've got going on. Whatever our other differences are. You know what I'm saying? Because we did have differences. Yeah? That's what facilitated that. So in order to stop facilitating that kind of thing, we got to get over that hurdle.
Yeah.
And see each other in a oneness. Not that we're the same. Like if you're one is a Yoruba and Ashanti, Kikuyu and whatever, we can deal with all
We've
that.
got differences, but we got a lot that's a lot similar.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We've got similar struggles.
So yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know,
All
but
right.
anyway, next week we'll continue, bro. Yeah, I'll come back to Uncle Danjuma, you know, with the Buck Treaty. So big up Uncle Danjuma, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Give thanks, like I said, for you know, for entertaining, man. You know what I mean?
I know he gets carried away sometimes. Though.
It's all good, though, you know what I'm saying? We have to allow the elders to be the elders. You know what I mean? I respect the elder, innit? So that's what I said when I started. Whatever I disagree with him on, I have respect for him, and that respect is, you know what I'm saying? Is
bro, me and Sheikh Danjuma, we obviously we got our little
you know,
whatever, but
so,
overall,
like,
he means well.
You know, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? So respect that. And I know a lot of brothers that share more of my sensibilities are vexed. Because I don't disrespect, man. I don't go on that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Need to and I think that does a disservice to your thing as well, generally speaking, where you have to. Bruv, you was raised with manners, innit? So
that's it.
That's it.
And people don't know that I knew Uncle Danjuma from before this.
Okay, yeah.
Like he knows my dad.
Pops and
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So like, I'm not gonna come and if my dad saw me on camera disrespect, are you mad? You get me? The meeting stick is still there, you know, my G. Yeah, you get me?
So last 2 seconds snippet.
Yeah.
Free speech.
Yeah.
African or not?
I consider it African. You know, Veli asked me this yesterday, right? About free speech. Yeah. Like, there's nothing about African tradition that I'd say free speech is contrary to the thing.
Okay.
But what I say is that free speech is not an individual thing from a communalist society perspective. Individuals don't have speech, collectives have speech, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would argue that there are various different, if I study indigenous systems, there are various different groups of people that have there's a social order that gives, like, there's a system. There's systems among certain groups whereby there's a group, a political group for all the women that have married into the group. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they represent their issues in the group
As a union type.
Just what I'm saying. So that's where the free speech operates. And then when they speak publicly, it's on the behalf of the group.
Right. Okay.
But whereas in this society we consider free speech just to be an individual thing. I can say what the hell I like.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know that exists
Yeah.
in a communal society. It would be irresponsible for every individual to just say what the hell they want whenever they want to say it. Because it might, like, you can't come in front of your elders and just say what the hell you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
there's order. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's,
don't speak out of turn and then take
right. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you come in front of certain, you wait to speak. There are, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
when
the etiquettes in the
right.
Yeah.
When I started speaking to Uncle Danjuma, I said, you know, let me, because I started speaking and I caught myself and said, I want to make it clear that I respect you. I said, there's certain traditions in West Africa whereby when you're speaking to an elder, you want to disagree, you have to ask to disagree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to request the right to have a disagreement right now.
Yeah.
And what that really means is not that your thoughts in your head are your thoughts in your head, but in order to express this disagreement right now, I have to take permission. Just what I'm saying. So I did that just to make sure people understand I respect this man. And you know, so nothing that I'm saying comes outside of that context.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd say that. But it's something that I research more in terms of that, because I'm interested in questions like that. In terms of the politics.
We need to chat about ADOS as well, though.
Yeah. Khalid was on that as well, so yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Love you, King. Let's up.
Let's be honest.
Are you still filming, yeah?
ContentCOE everything. From your melody.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Safer to wear masks.
Listen.
It is safer to wear masks. About 5 times safer to wear masks than not to wear masks. If you check the video of the Chief Medical Advisor of England, Professor Chris Whitty, when he's talking to the Select Committee on Social Care a couple of days ago, advising the government and informing the British population about the threats of the disease, this same Chris Whitty turns around and says, alongside the British government, you should cough into a tissue. You should fold up the tissue, put it away. So what does he do? He says this during the meeting, but what's the 1.5 hour interview? He coughs without protection on multiple occasions, directly at the other people. When he does cough, one time into something, it's into his hand. He then puts his hand on a table that workers have to clean up after him. Ask yourself this, why the British government is taking the attitude it's taking. Because they know that unlike China,